The coffee cup hit the marble floor and exploded into 1,000 pieces, but Adrian Cole barely heard it. He was too busy watching his billionaire boss, Vanessa Hale, standing at that office window with tears she refused to let fall. In 30 seconds, he would say something that should get him fired. In 30 days, she would offer him something that could destroy them both. And in 1 year, everything he thought he knew about love, power, and second chances would shatter, just like that coffee cup. But first, he had to be stupid enough to speak. If you're watching from somewhere in this world, drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far this story travels. And hit that like button if you believe broken people deserve second chances. Adrian Cole had exactly $4.37 in his checking account when he walked into Hale Industries that Tuesday morning. He knew the exact amount because he'd checked it 3 times on his phone during the subway ride, each time hoping the numbers would magically rearrange themselves into something that could pay for Emma's field trip next week. They didn't. The security guard Marcus nodded at him from behind the marble desk. "Early again, Cole." "Somebody's got to keep the lights on," Adrian said, managing a smile that probably looked as tired as he felt. 3 hours of sleep did that to a person. So did a 6-year-old daughter who'd had nightmares about her mother not coming back. Again. The elevator doors closed with a whisper of expensive engineering. Adrian caught his reflection in the polished steel, 32 years old, wearing his second-best shirt because Emma had spilled orange juice on his best one that morning, dark circles under his eyes that no amount of coffee could hide. He looked exactly like what he was, a single father barely holding it together, working as a mid-level project coordinator in a building where the bathroom fixtures probably cost more than his entire year's salary. The executive floor was always quiet at 6:30 a.m. That's why Adrian came in early, 2 hours of actual work before the chaos started, before the meetings and the emails and the constant pressure of trying to prove he deserved to be here, that he wasn't just another guy who'd gotten lucky with a good interview. He settled at his desk, booted up his computer, and pulled up the Morrison account files. Vanessa Hale wanted the presentation ready by Friday. Vanessa Hale wanted a lot of things, and people who didn't deliver them found themselves updating their resumes very quickly. Adrian had never actually spoken to Vanessa Hale, not directly. She existed somewhere in the stratosphere of the company, a 30-year-old CEO who'd inherited her father's business at 23 and somehow turned it from a mid-tier investment firm into an empire worth billions. Forbes called her ruthless. Fortune called her brilliant. The employees called her Ice Queen, though never loud enough for HR to hear. The coffee machine gurgled in the break room down the hall. Adrian was on his second cup, the cheap stuff he brought from home in a thermos, not the premium beans the company provided, when he heard it. Footsteps, heels on marble, precise and measured, coming from the direction of the executive suite. Nobody was supposed to be here this early. Nobody except... Vanessa Hale walked past his cubicle without looking at him. Charcoal suit, perfectly tailored. Hair pulled back so tight it probably gave her headaches. Phone in one hand, the other carrying a briefcase that cost more than Adrian's car. She disappeared into her office and the door clicked shut. Adrian exhaled. He hadn't realized he'd been holding his breath. 20 minutes later, he heard the crash. Not a loud crash. Not the kind that made you jump out of your seat. Just a sudden, sharp sound of something expensive hitting something harder, followed by silence. Adrian's fingers paused over his keyboard. "None of your business," he told himself. "Get back to work." But the silence stretched out, and before his brain could stop him, his legs were moving. Down the hallway, past the empty cubicles, toward the executive suite where the door stood slightly ajar. He shouldn't look. He should turn around and... Through the gap, he saw her. Vanessa Hale stood at her office window, one hand pressed flat against the glass. At her feet, a shattered coffee cup, the expensive kind, white porcelain with the company logo in gold leaf, coffee spreading across the marble like spilled ink. But Adrian wasn't looking at the mess. He was looking at her face. The Ice Queen was crying, not sobbing, not making a sound, just silent tears tracking down her face while she stared out the window at the park across the street, where early morning joggers ran past couples holding hands, where a father pushed his daughter on a swing set, where life happened for people who hadn't traded everything for an empire. Adrian should have left. Every instinct screamed at him to back away slowly and pretend he'd never seen this. Instead, he knocked. Vanessa's head snapped around. For half a second, her face was raw and open and utterly human. Then it locked down, features rearranging into the mask Adrian recognized from company presentations and Forbes magazine covers. "Mr. Cole?" Her voice was Arctic frost. "I wasn't aware I had a 7 a.m. meeting." "You don't." Adrian's mouth was moving without consulting his brain again. "I heard something fall. Wanted to make sure everything was okay." "Everything is fine." She didn't move from the window, didn't look down at the shattered cup. "You can go." He should have. He really, really should have. "You ever notice," Adrian heard himself say, "how that park is always full of people who look happy?" Vanessa's jaw tightened. "Mr. Cole?" "I used to hate it too," he continued, because apparently he'd decided career suicide was on today's agenda. When Emma's mom left, used to walk past playgrounds and see all those intact families and want to, I don't know, scream or something. I don't know what you were watching them." Adrian gestured at the window. "The couples, the families, looking at something you think you can't have." The silence that followed was so absolute, Adrian could hear his own heartbeat, could hear the distant hum of the building's HVAC system, could hear his career ending in real time. Vanessa turned fully to face him. Her eyes were dry now, red-rimmed but fierce. "You think you know me, Mr. Cole? You think you understand my life because you've read some magazine articles?" "No," Adrian said quietly. "I think I understand loneliness. And I think you're standing in an office worth millions, surrounded by everything you've built, and you're still lonely. Which is worse than being broke and lonely, because at least when you're broke, you can tell yourself money would fix it." Her hand clenched into a fist at her side. "Get out." "I'll go," Adrian said. "But I'm going to say one thing first, and you can fire me after if you want. You're 30 years old. You've got decades ahead of you. And I don't know who told you that you had to choose between the empire and everything else, but they lied. My daughter asks me every night if I'm happy, and I tell her yes because she's enough. But you know what? It's okay to want more than enough. It's okay to want someone to share it with. You have no idea what you're talking about." But Vanessa's voice had lost some of its edge. "Maybe not." Adrian moved toward the door. "But I know what it looks like when someone's drowning in their own life. And I know that sometimes the hardest thing is admitting you want to stop drowning." He left before she could respond, walked back to his desk with his heart hammering against his ribs, sat down, stared at his computer screen without seeing it. Well, he thought, Emma's field trip fund just became a job search fund. The rest of the morning passed in a blur. Adrian kept his head down, worked on the Morrison presentation, and tried not to think about the fact that he'd just told a billionaire CEO she was lonely and drowning. By noon, he'd convinced himself that maybe, she'd been too shocked to process it properly. Maybe he'd skate by unnoticed. Then his phone rang. Internal line, executive suite. Adrian considered not answering, considered faking a medical emergency, considered jumping out the window, but they were on the 15th floor and Emma needed him alive, if unemployed. He picked up. "Adrian Cole." "Mr. Cole." Vanessa's assistant, a woman named Patricia who'd never spoken to him before. "Ms. Hale would like to see you in her office, now." The phone went dead. Adrian saved his work. No point leaving it incomplete when they'd need someone else to finish it. Straightened his tie. Wondered if they'd let him clean out his desk or if security would escort him out immediately. The executive suite felt different in daylight, less imposing, somehow. Or maybe that was just the numbness of accepting his fate. Patricia gestured to the door without looking at him. "Go in." Vanessa sat behind her desk, hands folded, expression unreadable. The shattered coffee cup was gone. No evidence of this morning's moment remained. "Sit down, Mr. Cole." Adrian sat, waited, reminded himself to breathe. "I've reviewed your employment file," Vanessa said. She had a folder open in front of her. His folder, he realized. His whole professional life reduced to papers in a manila folder. "You've been with Hale Industries for 3 years. Performance reviews are consistently above average. Your team lead says you're reliable, detail-oriented, and good under pressure." "Thank you," Adrian managed. "You're also raising a daughter alone. Emma, age 6. Something cold slithered down Adrian's spine. "Yes." How do you manage it? The question caught him off guard. The single parenting and the demanding job? Adrian blinked. Honestly? Poorly. I'm late sometimes because daycare runs over. I use all my sick days when she's sick. I probably look half dead most mornings because she has nightmares and doesn't sleep, which means I don't sleep, but I show up, I do the work, and I've never missed a deadline. No, Vanessa said slowly. You haven't. Silence stretched between them. Am I fired? Adrian asked because he couldn't stand it anymore. Vanessa's expression didn't change. What you said this morning was inappropriate, presumptuous, a complete violation of professional boundaries. I know, I'm sorry. However, she opened a different folder. We have an opening in senior management, project director position. 20% salary increase, better benefits, and flexible hours for family obligations. I'm offering it to you. Adrian's brain stalled out completely. What? The position is yours if you want it. Vanessa's voice was perfectly level, perfectly professional, as if she hadn't just turned his world upside down. You'll report directly to me. Start Monday. I don't understand. What part is unclear? The part where I insulted you this morning and now you're promoting me. Adrian heard the edge in his own voice. Why? For the first time, something shifted in Vanessa's expression. Not quite a smile, not quite warmth, but something human, pushing through the cracks. Because, she said quietly, nobody has spoken to me like an actual person in 7 years. Everyone here treats me like a title, a bank account, a ladder rung. You treated me like someone who might be struggling. And you were right, that is worse than being broke and lonely. So either you're perceptive enough to be valuable or stupid enough to be honest. Either way, I need that on my team. Adrian stared at her. That's the strangest job offer I've ever heard. Is that a yes or a no, Mr. Cole? He should say no. Should run far away from whatever complicated mess he'd just stumbled into. But Emma's field trip cost $60. The rent was due in 2 weeks. And a 20% raise meant maybe, he could stop checking his bank account 3 times every morning. Yes, Adrian said. I accept. Good. Vanessa closed the folders. Patricia will handle the paperwork. You can move your things to your new office this afternoon. Adrian stood, still feeling like he'd fallen into an alternate dimension. He was halfway to the door when Vanessa spoke again. Mr. Cole? He turned back. She was looking at him directly now, and her eyes held something he couldn't quite name. Curiosity. Challenge. Maybe a little fear. Don't make me regret this, she said. I'll do my best, Adrian promised. He left the office in a daze. Patricia handed him forms to sign, a security badge with a new access level, keys to an office with actual walls and a door. It wasn't until he was back at his desk, staring at the paperwork, that the full weight of it hit him. Vanessa Hale, Ice Queen of Hale Industries, had just promoted the man who'd seen her cry. That wasn't generosity. That was something else entirely, and Adrian had no idea what he'd just gotten himself into. The new office had a window. That was the first thing Adrian noticed when he moved his meager possessions in that afternoon. An actual window with a view of the street below, not the air shaft his old cubicle had faced. The second thing he noticed was that it was directly across the hall from Vanessa's office, close enough to see when her light was on late at night, close enough to hear when she raised her voice on conference calls, close enough to be constantly, uncomfortably aware of her presence. Emma noticed the change immediately when he picked her up from daycare that evening. You're smiling, she announced from the back seat, suspicious. You never smile on Tuesdays. I got promoted today, sweetheart. What's promoted? It means I got a better job. Same company, but better. Emma considered this. Do you get more money? Yes. Can we get pizza? Adrian laughed. Actually laughed, for the first time in weeks. Yeah, we can get pizza, Soam. They ate at the cheap place near their apartment, Emma chattering about her day while Adrian tried to process his. Every time he thought about the morning, about Vanessa's tears, about his own reckless honesty, about the impossibility of what had followed, it felt less real. Daddy? Emma's voice pulled him back. You're doing that thing again. What thing? Where you're here but you're not here, like when you're worried about bills. Too perceptive, his daughter, too aware of the cracks in their life. "I'm here," Adrian promised, reaching across to squeeze her hand. "Just thinking about work stuff. But good work stuff. Promise?" "Promise." That night, after Emma finally fell asleep, 2 stories and 3 glasses of water later, Adrian sat at their tiny kitchen table and looked at the numbers. Really looked at them. 20% salary increase meant he could actually save something each month, could build an emergency fund, could stop living in constant low-level panic about what happened if the car broke down or Emma got sick, could maybe, possibly, start to build a life instead of just surviving one. His phone buzzed. Email from Patricia, sent at 10:47 p.m. "Welcome packet attached. Ms. Hale expects you in her office at 8 a.m. tomorrow to discuss your new responsibilities." Adrian stared at the message. Most people's welcome packets came from HR during business hours. Most people didn't get summoned to the CEO's office first thing in the morning. Then again, most people didn't call their CEO lonely and drowning. He arrived at 7:45 the next morning because showing up late to a meeting with Vanessa Hale seemed like a bad way to start a new position. Her door was already open. She was already at her desk, surrounded by papers and laptop screens and the detritus of someone who'd probably been there since dawn. "You're early," she said without looking up. "Military habit? My dad used to say if you're on time, you're late." "Smart man." Vanessa gestured to the chair across from her. "Sit. We have a lot to cover." The next 2 hours were a masterclass in organized chaos. Vanessa walked him through current projects, timelines, expectations. She spoke quickly, precisely, assuming he'd keep up. When he asked questions, she answered them without condescension. When he offered suggestions, she actually listened. It was, Adrian realized with some surprise, the most professional interaction he'd had in years. No ego, no posturing, just work. "The Morrison presentation," Vanessa said, pulling up files on her laptop. "You've been working on it. Show me what you have." Adrian pulled out his laptop, suddenly grateful he'd obsessed over every slide, walked her through the data, the projections, the strategy he'd outlined. Vanessa listened in silence. When he finished, she said, "The market analysis in Section 3 is solid, but you're underselling the risk factors. Morrison's board will crucify us if we pretend those don't exist. I flagged them in the appendix. Put them up front. Own the problems before they can weaponize them. Show you've already thought 3 steps ahead." Adrian made notes. "That'll make the initial pitch less attractive. It'll make it honest. I don't need attractive. I need bulletproof." Vanessa's eyes met his. "You understand the difference?" "Yeah," Adrian said slowly. "I do." Something shifted in her expression. Approval, maybe. Or recognition. They worked for another hour, refining the presentation until it was sharp enough to cut. By the time Vanessa called it quits, Adrian's brain felt like overworked muscle. "Good," she said, closing her laptop. "Have the revised version on my desk by tomorrow afternoon. We'll present to Morrison on Friday." "We? You built it. You'll present it with me." Adrian's stomach dropped. "I've never presented to a client at that level before." "Then Friday will be educational." Vanessa stood, signaling the meeting was over. "Don't disappoint me, Mr. Cole." Back in his new office, Adrian resisted the urge to put his head down on the desk and scream. A major client presentation in 3 days, with the CEO, where any mistake would be spectacularly, career-endingly public. No pressure. He dove into the revisions, losing himself in data and projections and the careful work of anticipating every possible objection. Forgot to eat lunch. Barely noticed when the office emptied around him as 5 o'clock came and went. At 7:30, his office door opened. Vanessa stood there, briefcase in hand, clearly heading out for the night. She paused. "You're still here." "Almost done with the revisions." "It's 7:30. "I know." Adrian didn't look away from his screen. "Want to make sure it's right." Silence. Then, "Do you have someone at home? For your daughter?" "Neighbor watches her on late nights, Mrs. Chen. She's good with Emma." Adrian finally looked up. "I'll be out of here soon." Vanessa nodded, started to leave, then stopped. "The risk analysis you added, it's good, better than what our strategy team usually produces." It wasn't quite praise, but it wasn't nothing. Thanks, Adrian said. She left without another word. But Adrian sat there for a moment, staring at the empty doorway, feeling something strange and uncomfortable in his chest. He'd worked late plenty of times before, but nobody had ever asked if he had someone at home. Nobody had ever checked if he was okay. Vanessa Hale barely knew him, had no reason to care, but she'd asked anyway. Eat. Friday arrived with the inevitability of a freight train. Adrian wore his best suit, the one he'd bought for job interviews 3 years ago, still sharp if a little worn at the cuffs. Emma had wished him luck that morning, very seriously, like she understood this was important. "You got this, Daddy," she'd said, echoing the phrase he always told her before school tests. Now, standing outside the conference room where Morrison's executive team waited, Adrian wasn't so sure. "Breathe," Vanessa said beside him. She looked, as always, completely composed. Armor perfect in a navy suit, hair immaculate, expression giving away nothing. "You know this material better than anyone in that room. Just remember that." "What if I freeze up?" "You won't." She met his eyes, and for a moment the Ice Queen cracked just enough to show something almost kind underneath. "You wouldn't be here if I thought you'd fail. Trust me." Then she pushed open the door, and there was no more time for doubt. The presentation went better than Adrian had imagined, and worse than he'd hoped. Morrison's team was sharp, aggressive, picking apart every projection with the precision of surgeons. But Vanessa had been right. Putting the risk factors up front disarmed half their attacks before they could land. Adrian held his own, stumbled twice, recovered both times. When David Morrison himself challenged the market analysis, Adrian didn't fold, just walked him through the data point by point until the older man nodded, grudgingly satisfied. 90 minutes later, they emerged with a signed contract. In the elevator afterward, Vanessa was quiet. Adrian couldn't read her expression, couldn't tell if he'd met her expectations or fallen short. "That was," he started. "Acceptable," Vanessa interrupted. "You hesitated on the third quarter projections." Morrison noticed. Adrian's brief flash of pride guttered. "I'll do better next time." "Yes, you will." Then so quietly he almost missed it. "But you didn't collapse under pressure. That's rare." The elevator opened onto their floor. Vanessa stepped out, then paused. "Take the rest of the day," she said. "Spend it with your daughter." "I have the Henderson report. Monday is soon enough." She was already walking away. "You did good work, Mr. Cole. Go celebrate with someone who matters." Adrian stood there watching her disappear into her office and felt that strange sensation again, like the ground had shifted under his feet without warning. He picked Emma up early from daycare, a rare treat, took her to the park, the one Vanessa could see from her office window, pushed her on the swings while she shrieked with laughter, her joy so pure and uncomplicated it made his chest ache. "Higher, Daddy, higher!" He pushed higher, watched her arc toward the sky, fearless. "Is your new job good?" Emma asked later when they were sitting on a bench sharing ice cream. "Yeah," Adrian said. It's good." "Does your boss yell at you?" "No, she's fair. Tough, but fair." Emma licked her ice cream thoughtfully. "Mommy used to yell before she left." Adrian's hand tightened on the bench. They didn't talk about Emma's mother much. The woman who'd walked out 2 years ago decided motherhood wasn't for her and never looked back. Who sent birthday cards with generic messages and no return address. "I know, sweetheart. But you don't yell, even when I'm bad." "You're never bad. Sometimes you make mistakes, but that's different." "Your boss doesn't yell either?" "No," Adrian said slowly, seeing where this was going. "She doesn't." "Then she's like you," Emma declared, as if this settled something important. "She's a not yeller." Adrian smiled despite himself. That's one way to put it. But later, after Emma was asleep and the apartment was quiet, Adrian found himself thinking about it. About Vanessa's controlled fury during the presentation, the way she'd eviscerated Morrison's objections without raising her voice, the way she'd spoken to Adrian this morning, sharp but never cruel. Power without volume. Strength without violence. Emma was right. Vanessa was a not yeller, and somehow that felt important. The following week fell into a rhythm. Early mornings in Vanessa's office, going over projects and strategy. Long days of execution, Adrian learning on the fly how to manage at this level. late nights finishing what couldn't wait until tomorrow. But something had shifted. Vanessa still demanded perfection, but she'd started, just barely, to show cracks in the ice. Small things. A comment about the coffee being terrible. A dry observation about a competitor's stupidity. Once when Adrian made a joke about Morrison's terrible tie, the corner of her mouth had twitched. Almost a smile. "You're staring," she said one morning, not looking up from her laptop. Adrian blinked. "Sorry, just, you almost smiled. Didn't know that was physically possible." "It's not company policy to smile, Mr. Cole." "Is it company policy to have a sense of humor?" "Absolutely not." But her eyes lifted to his, and there was something in them, amusement maybe. "Get back to work." 2 weeks after this promotion, Adrian stayed late to finish a proposal. Most of the office had emptied by 6. By 7:30 it was just him and the cleaning crew, and Vanessa, apparently, whose office light was still on. Adrian finished around 8, saved everything, rubbed his eyes, realized he'd forgotten to eat lunch again. His stomach growled in protest. He was packing up when Vanessa's door opened. She looked tired. Actually tired. Not just her usual controlled composure. Hair slightly less perfect. Jacket discarded somewhere. For the first time since he'd known her, she looked human. "Still here?" she asked. "Just finished the Grayson proposal. You?" "Conference call with Tokyo. They have questions about the merger." She glanced at her watch. "And I missed dinner." "Yeah," Adrian said. "Me too." The silence stretched. Then, impulsively, "There's a diner 2 blocks from here. Nothing fancy, but they're open late and the food's decent. If you wanted to grab something." He regretted it immediately. Stupid. She was the CEO. She didn't eat at diners with employees. But Vanessa tilted her head, considering. Wouldn't that violate several HR policies? Probably. We could call it a working dinner, discuss the Grayson proposal over mediocre coffee. I've had 7 cups of coffee today. So have I. What's one more? Another pause, then, impossibly, "Fine, but you're buying. With my salary, that you pay me? Consider it a test of your budgeting skills." They walked to the diner in silence, the November night sharp and cold. Inside, the place was nearly empty. Just a couple of truckers and a tired waitress who looked like she'd seen everything and cared about none of it. Vanessa slid into a booth, and Adrian had the surreal experience of watching a billionaire CEO in a $5,000 suit sitting under fluorescent lights next to a sticky laminated menu. "This is different," she said. "Different bad or different good?" "Just different." She scanned the menu. "When's the last time you ate somewhere like this?" "Yesterday, and the day before. This is fancy for me." Vanessa's eyes lifted to his, sharp. "I pay you enough to afford better." "You pay me enough to afford Emma's daycare, our rent, and groceries. This," he gestured at the diner, "is what fits in the budget after that." Something flickered across her face. Not pity, something harder to name. The waitress came. They ordered burger for Adrian, soup for Vanessa, coffee for both. "You want to know something?" Vanessa said after the waitress left. "I haven't eaten at a place like this since college." "What changed?" "Everything." She traced a finger along the scarred Formica table. "My father died. I inherited the company. Suddenly, I was eating at restaurants where they don't list prices on the menu, where everyone knows my name and wants something from me." Sounds exhausting. "It is." She looked at him directly. "That's why I eat most meals alone in my office." The confession landed between them, quiet and heavy. "Emma asks me every night what I had for lunch," Adrian said. "I usually lie and say something good because the truth, protein bar at my desk or nothing, worries her. She thinks adults need to eat vegetables. Smart kid. Too smart. She sees through my bullshit more often than I'd like." Their food arrived. They ate in comfortable silence for a while, the diner's ambient noise washing over them. "Can I ask you something?" Adrian said finally. "And you can tell me it's none of my business." "That won't stop you." "Probably not." He smiled. "Why'd you really promote me? The truth, not the HR-approved version." Vanessa set down her spoon, studied him with those ice-chip eyes that saw too much. "Because I'm surrounded by people who tell me what I want to hear," she said quietly. "People who treat me like a checkbook or a stepping stone. You're the first person in 7 years who looked at me and saw someone struggling, who had the courage or stupidity to say it out loud. And that was worth a promotion? That was worth keeping you close enough to see if you do it again. Why would you want that? Because everyone else thinks I'm perfect, untouchable, and they're all wrong. Vanessa's voice dropped lower. That morning when you saw me, I'd been up all night, made 3 deals that would make the company millions. And all I could think was, this is it? This is what I traded everything for? Numbers going up on a screen while life happens out there? She gestured vaguely toward the window. To everyone else? Adrian didn't know what to say, so he did what he'd learned with Emma. He just listened. I built this empire to prove I could, Vanessa continued, to prove I was more than just Daddy's little girl who'd inherited his company. And I succeeded, but somewhere along the way I forgot to build anything else. It's not too late, Adrian said quietly. You're 30. You've got time. Do I? She laughed, bitter. Everyone I meet wants something, a job, an investment, an introduction. How do you build a real life when everyone treats you like a transaction? You start small. You find one person who doesn't want anything from you, and you build from there. You make it sound simple. It's not. Emma's mom left because she didn't want the life we were building, said it was too small, too ordinary, that I'd never be enough. Adrian looked down at his burger. So I know about people wanting things you can't give them, about feeling like you're not enough. When he looked up, Vanessa was watching him with an expression he'd never seen before. Not pity, not curiosity, understanding. Emma's mother was an idiot, Vanessa said. Yeah, but she was right about one thing. I'll probably never be extraordinary. I'm just a guy trying to raise his kid and not screw it up too badly. You think that's ordinary? Compared to building a billion-dollar empire? Yeah. Vanessa shook her head slowly. You're still here at 8 p.m. because you wanted to do good work. You budget your money down to the dollar so your daughter can have what she needs. You push her on swings and lie about eating vegetables and show up every single day. That's not ordinary, Adrian. That's the hardest thing there is. It was the first time she'd used his first name. Something in Adrian's chest cracked open, just a little. They finished eating. Split the check, Vanessa insisting, Adrian conceding, walked back to the office building where their cars were parked. Thank you, Vanessa said at her car, a sleek black thing that probably cost 6 figures. For dinner, for talking. Any time, Adrian said, and meant it. She hesitated, hand on the door. Adrian? Yeah? Don't tell anyone about this. The dinner, they'd make it into something it's not. What is it? Vanessa met his eyes. I don't know yet. She drove away, leaving Adrian standing in the parking garage, heart beating harder than it should, because he was starting to realize something dangerous. Vanessa Hale wasn't the Ice Queen. She was just lonely, just human, just someone who'd built walls so high she'd forgotten what it felt like to let anyone in. And Adrian, idiot that he was, had somehow gotten inside. The dinners became a thing. Not every night, that would have been obvious. But once, maybe twice a week, Adrian would find himself walking to that same diner with Vanessa after everyone else had gone home. They'd sit in the same booth, order the same mediocre food, and talk about things that had nothing to do with work. Or at least, that's how it started. 3 weeks after that first dinner, Vanessa asked about Emma. You mentioned she has nightmares, Vanessa said, stirring her coffee. About her mother. Adrian tensed. He didn't talk about this, not with coworkers, not with friends, barely even with Mrs. Chen, who knew more about his life than anyone. Sometimes, he said carefully. What do you tell her? When she wakes up scared? The truth, that her mom made a choice, that it wasn't Emma's fault, that I'm not going anywhere. Vanessa's hand stilled on her cup. Do you believe that last part? That you won't leave? Yeah, I do. How can you be sure? Adrian looked at her, really looked at her, saw the question beneath the question. Because she's mine, he said simply. Because when I look at her, I see every possibility in the world, every hope. And the idea of walking away from that? He shook his head. I'd rather cut off my own arm. Something raw passed over Vanessa's face. My father used to say love was a weakness, that it made you vulnerable. Made you stupid. It does, Adrian agreed.
But it also makes you brave.
Makes you want to be better than you are. Even when it hurts? Especially then. The waitress refilled their coffee. Outside, rain started to fall, drumming against the diner windows. My father never said he loved me, Vanessa said quietly. Not once. He said he was proud of my accomplishments, proud of my grades, proud when I took over the company. But love? She laughed, hollow. That wasn't in his vocabulary. I'm sorry. Don't be. It made me strong, made me successful. It made you lonely, Adrian corrected gently. Vanessa's jaw tightened. For a moment, he thought she'd shut down, retreat behind the ice. Instead, she said, Yes, it did. They sat in silence, the rain getting heavier. Adrian should have felt uncomfortable, should have excused himself, maintained professional distance. Instead, he reached across the table and touched her hand, just briefly, just enough to say, I see you. Vanessa didn't pull away. Her fingers twitched under his, like she'd forgotten how to accept comfort and was trying to remember. Emma asks about you sometimes, Adrian heard himself say. Wants to know what my boss is like. What do you tell her? That you're smart, tough, fair? He paused. That you work too hard and forget to eat lunch. Sounds thrilling. She thinks you need someone to remind you about vegetables. This time, Vanessa actually smiled, small but real. She sounds like a good kid. She is. Best thing I ever did. I'd like to meet her someday, Vanessa said. Then her eyes widened slightly, like the words had escaped without permission. I mean, that's inappropriate. Forget I said that. It's not inappropriate, Adrian said. It's nice. They looked at each other across the scarred table, rain falling outside, and something shifted, something that couldn't be taken back. Adrian's phone buzzed. Mrs. Chen. Emma's asking for you. She's okay. Just missing her dad. I have to go, Adrian said, standing. Of course. Vanessa was already reaching for her wallet. Same time Thursday? It should have been a question. It sounded like hope. Yeah, Adrian said. Thursday. He drove home through the rain, Emma's question echoing in his head. What's your boss like? Smart, tough, fair, lonely, human, complicated, dangerous. Because somewhere between the coffee and the conversations, Adrian had stopped seeing Vanessa Hale, the CEO, and started seeing Vanessa, the woman. The one who'd forgotten how to be soft, who'd built an empire and lost herself inside it. And he was starting to care about her. Really care. Which was the stupidest thing he could possibly do. Thursday came. Then the Thursday after that. The dinners continued, became routine. Adrian told himself it was just two people talking. Told himself he was being friendly, not crossing lines. He was lying. And he knew it. Emma noticed first, kids always did. You're different, she announced one Saturday morning over pancakes. Different how? Happy different? Like when we go to the park different. Adrian flipped a pancake, buying time. I got a promotion, remember? Things are better now. Is it because of your boss? His hand slipped. The pancake landed half off the griddle. What makes you say that? Emma shrugged, 6 years old and terrifyingly perceptive. You smile when you talk about work now. You used to make your grumpy face. I don't have a grumpy face. You totally do, like this. She scrunched up her features in an exaggerated frown. Adrian laughed despite himself. That's not what I look like. Mrs. Chen says you've been happier too. She asked if you met someone. Mrs. Chen talks too much. So did you meet someone? Adrian slid the pancakes onto Emma's plate, dodging. Eat your breakfast, nosy. But the question stayed with him. Had he met someone? Technically, he'd known Vanessa for months, but the woman he had dinner with every Thursday, the one who talked about her father and her loneliness and her fear of never being enough. That woman was someone new, someone he was starting to need in his life. Monday morning, Adrian arrived at the office to find an envelope on his desk. Inside, a handwritten note on expensive stationery. I have a business dinner Wednesday night, client from Dubai. I need someone who can handle the financial projections if questions arise. Would you be available? V professional, proper, completely reasonable. Except Vanessa had a whole team of financial analysts. She didn't need Adrian for this. He knocked on her office door. She looked up from her laptop, expression neutral. "The Dubai client," Adrian said. "You sure you want me there?" "You're my project director. It's appropriate." Vanessa. "Is that a no, Mr. Cole?" Back to last names, back to formality. But her eyes held something else. A question. A dare. "It's a yes," Adrian said quietly. "What time?" 7. "Wear your good suit. This is a 5-star restaurant." "I only have one suit." "Then wear that one." The corner of her mouth twitched. "And for the love of everything, don't order the cheapest thing on the menu. I can afford to feed you." "Is that company policy?" "It's self-preservation. I can't have my project director looking malnourished." Adrian left her office smiling, then immediately panicked because he had no idea what to wear to a 5-star restaurant. The good suit was 3 years old. His shoes needed polishing. And he'd have to ask Mrs. Chen to watch Emma late on a school night. Wednesday arrived too fast. Adrian picked up Emma from daycare, fed her dinner, helped with homework. Mrs. Chen arrived at 6:30, all-knowing looks and zero subtlety. "Big work dinner?" she asked. "Client meeting." "Mm-hmm. And does this client meeting explain the new cologne?" "Mrs. Chen, I'm just saying, you haven't dressed up like this since Emma's mother left. Must be some important client." Adrian escaped before she could say anything else. Drove to the restaurant in the city, a place with valet parking and a waiting list measured in weeks. The kind of place where Adrian's annual salary probably equaled one night's wine budget. Vanessa was already there at a corner table that probably required a bribe to secure. She wore a black dress that was simultaneously perfectly professional and completely devastating. Hair down for once, falling past her shoulders. Adrian forgot how to breathe for a second. "Mr. Cole," she said, standing. "You made it." Traffic was brutal, Adrian managed. Then quieter. "You look professional?" "I was going to say beautiful, but sure, we'll go with professional." Something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, maybe? Pleasure. "The client's running late," Vanessa said, sitting back down. "We have time." "Time for what?" "To get our stories straight. How we know each other. How long we've worked together. We need to present a united front." "Right. The client." This was a business dinner. Adrian needed to remember that. They spent the next 20 minutes prepping, discussing the Dubai deal, the key points, potential objections. Vanessa was all business, sharp and focused, but her knee bumped his under the table. Once, then again. Accident or intentional? Adrian couldn't tell. The client arrived. A man named Hassan, mid-50s, expensive watch, and expensive taste. He spent the first 10 minutes evaluating Adrian like a horse at auction, clearly trying to figure out who he was and why he mattered. "Mr. Cole is my right hand," Vanessa said smoothly. "Anything you need to know about the American market, he's your man." It was a lie. Adrian knew enough to be dangerous, but he wasn't an expert. But Hassan didn't need to know that. Dinner progressed. Hassan asked questions. Vanessa answered most, Adrian filling in gaps when needed. The food was incredible, the kind of meal Adrian would remember for years. Course after course, each more elaborate than the last. Hassan ordered wine, expensive wine, then more expensive wine. "To partnerships," Hassan said, raising his glass. "May they be profitable." They drank. The wine was smooth, rich, probably cost more than Adrian's rent. By the third glass, Adrian's head was pleasantly fuzzy. Hassan was telling a story about a deal gone wrong in Singapore. Vanessa was laughing, actually laughing, the sound lower and warmer than Adrian had ever heard. Under the table, her hand found his knee, just rested there, warm through the fabric of his pants. Adrian stopped breathing. Hassan didn't notice, too caught up in his story. But Vanessa's fingers stayed where they were, a secret point of contact. When Adrian glanced at her, she wasn't looking at him. Her face was perfectly composed, attention on Hassan, but her hand didn't move. The dinner ended around 11. Hassan left in a town car, promising to review the proposal. Adrian and Vanessa stood on the sidewalk, the city alive around them. "That went well," Vanessa said. "You think he'll sign?" "Maybe. He liked you." "He liked the wine." "That too." Vanessa looked at him, and the streetlights caught her eyes, made them less ice and more storm. Thank you for coming. I know it was last minute. Any time. They should have said goodnight, should have gone to their separate cars and maintained professional distance. Instead, Vanessa said, I'm not ready to go home yet. Neither am I. There's a bar around the corner, quiet place. We could... Yes, Adrian said before she finished. The bar was small, dark, the kind of place where nobody looked twice at anyone. They found a booth in the back, ordered drinks, whiskey for Adrian, vodka for Vanessa. Hassan's going to sign, Vanessa said after the first sip.
He just needs to feel like he made us work for it. How do you know? Because I've been doing this for 7 years. I know when someone's already decided. She traced the rim of her glass. The dinner was just theater, but I needed... What? An excuse, Vanessa said quietly, to see you outside the office, outside the Thursday dinners where we pretend it's casual. Adrian's heart kicked hard against his ribs. Vanessa. I know what this is, she interrupted. I know it's inappropriate. You work for me. There are policies. HR would have a field day, but I can't... She stopped, started again. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you, about our conversations, about the way you look at me like I'm human instead of a bank account. You are human. Not at work, not in the world I live in. She met his eyes. But with you, I feel like I could be. Adrian should have shut this down, should have been the responsible one.
Instead, he said, I think about you too, more than I should. How much is too much? Enough that I'm terrified of screwing this up, of losing my job, of... He stopped. Of what? Of hurting Emma. She's been through enough. If this goes wrong, if it affects my job, it affects her. I can't risk that. Vanessa nodded slowly. I understand. We should stop. Keep it professional. We should, Adrian agreed. Neither of them moved. I don't want to stop, Vanessa whispered. Neither do I. The air between them crackled, electric. Adrian could see her pulse jumping in her throat, could see the way her hands trembled slightly around her glass. What do we do? She asked. I don't know. I've never done anything like this before. Neither have I. I don't date. She laughed, bitter. I don't know how to be with someone, how to be vulnerable. My father raised me to be strong, independent, to never need anyone. And now? Now I'm sitting here terrified because I think I might need you, and I have no idea what to do with that. Adrian reached across the table, took her hand. Her skin was warm, her fingers threading through his like they'd been doing this for years. We take it slow, he said. We're careful. We don't rush. What about work? The policies? We figure it out. Maybe I transfer to a different department. Maybe you bring in HR and we do this by the book. Adrian squeezed her hand. But I'm not walking away from this. From you. Not unless you tell me to. Vanessa's eyes were bright. Not quite tears, but close. I'm not good at this. At relationships. At being what someone needs. Neither am I. Emma's mom left because I wasn't enough. Because our life was too small, too ordinary. There's nothing ordinary about you. That's the wine talking. No, Vanessa said fiercely. It's not. You're the first real thing that's happened to me in 7 years. The first person who sees me and doesn't want something. Who doesn't need me to be perfect or powerful or anything except human, Adrian finished. Yes. They sat there, hands linked across the table, the bar humming with quiet conversation around them. Adrian knew this was reckless, knew all the ways it could go wrong. But looking at Vanessa, at the hope and fear warring in her eyes, he couldn't bring himself to care. Come out with me, he said. Saturday, somewhere normal. Somewhere we can just be two people. Like a date? Exactly like a date. Vanessa's smile was small, uncertain, beautiful. Okay, yes, but Emma, does she know about... Not yet. I need to figure out how to tell her. If I tell her. When? Vanessa corrected gently. Not if. If this is real, she needs to know. Is it real? Adrian asked. Or are we both just lonely? Vanessa thought about it. Really thought. In that careful way she had. I've been lonely for 7 years. I never did anything about it before. Never wanted to. She looked at him. You're not just filling a gap, Adrian. You're… what? Something I didn't know I needed until I found it. They left the bar around 1 a.m., stood on the sidewalk outside, neither wanting to say goodbye. Saturday, Vanessa said. Where? Somewhere casual, jeans and normal food. I'm not sure I remember how to be casual. We'll figure it out together. Vanessa stepped closer. Close enough that Adrian could smell her perfume, something subtle and expensive. Close enough to feel her warmth. I want to kiss you, she said quietly. We're on a public sidewalk. I don't care. Someone might see. Let them. But she didn't move, waiting, giving him the choice. Adrian closed the distance, kissed her softly, carefully, like she might break. Vanessa made a small sound against his mouth, her hands coming up to grip his jacket. The kiss was brief, chaste, nothing scandalous. But it felt like everything shifting, like a door opening that couldn't be closed. When they pulled apart, Vanessa's eyes were wide. Oh, she breathed. Yeah, Adrian agreed. Oh. They went to their separate cars. Adrian drove home in a daze, his lips still tingling. Mrs. Chen was asleep on the couch, Emma long since in bed. He paid her, thanked her, closed the door. Then he stood in his tiny apartment and tried to process what had just happened. He'd kissed Vanessa Hale, his boss, the ice queen, the woman who'd cried at her office window and somehow let him in, and on Saturday he was taking her on a date. Either the best decision he'd ever made or the worst. Adrian checked on Emma, asleep, peaceful, unaware her father's life had just gotten exponentially more complicated. He kissed her forehead, whispered, "Love you, sweetheart." Then he went to bed and didn't sleep, just lay there thinking about Vanessa's hand in his, her smile, her admission that she needed him. His phone buzzed, text from an unknown number. Can't sleep. Keep thinking about you. V. Adrian smiled in the darkness. Typed back, same. Saturday can't come fast enough. It's terrifying. Yeah, but good terrifying. Is there such a thing? I think we're about to find out. A long pause, then, good night, Adrian. Good night, Vanessa. He fell asleep with his phone in his hand, feeling like he was standing on the edge of a cliff, about to jump, about to fly, about to fall. Saturday arrived wrapped in cold sunshine and Adrian's complete inability to function like a normal human. He changed shirts 3 times. Emma noticed. Why are you being weird? She asked from his bedroom doorway. I'm not being weird. You're definitely being weird. Are you going somewhere? Adrian looked at his daughter, her dark hair tangled from sleep, her mother's eyes staring at him with unnerving perception. He'd promised himself he'd tell her, be honest. But now, facing her, the words stuck. I have a friend coming over. We're going out for a bit. What kind of friend? Just a friend. Emma's eyes narrowed. A girlfriend or a friend? When did you get so nosy? Mrs. Chen says I get it from you. Adrian laughed despite his nerves. Okay, fine. A girlfriend. But it's new. Really new. So I need you to be cool about it. Is it your boss? Adrian's heart stopped. What? No. Why would you? Because you smile when you talk about work now, and you dress nice on Thursdays. And Mrs. Chen says, Mrs. Chen needs to mind her own business. Emma crossed her arms, suddenly looking much older than 6. So it is your boss. There was no point lying. Emma would know. She always knew. Yeah, Adrian admitted. It's my boss. Her name is Vanessa, and I know it's weird, but do you like her? Yes. Does she like you? I think so. I hope so. Emma considered this with the seriousness of a judge. Is she nice? She's complicated, but yeah, she's nice. Nicer than Mommy was. The question hit Adrian in the chest. Sweetheart. Because Mommy wasn't nice. Not at the end. She yelled at you, and then she left. Emma's voice was matter-of-fact, but her eyes were bright. I don't want someone who yells at you. Adrian knelt down,
pulled Emma into a hug. Vanessa doesn't yell. I promise.
She's tough and she works a lot, but she's kind. And this isn't serious yet. We're just seeing if we like spending time together. But if it gets serious, Emma said against his shoulder, I have to meet her, right? Because I'm part of your life. You're the most important part of my life. If this becomes something real, you'll definitely meet her. But only if you want to. Emma pulled back, studying his face. Okay, but if she's mean to you, I'm going to tell her to leave.
Adrian smiled. Deal. And Daddy? Yeah? You look good in the blue shirt. Wear that one. He wore the blue shirt. Vanessa arrived at 2, driving a car that was somehow even more expensive than the one she drove to work. She'd followed instructions: jeans, sweater, hair down. She looked younger like this, less armored. Adrian met her at the curb before she could knock. The last thing he needed was Emma interrogating Vanessa on the doorstep. Hi, Vanessa said, and she sounded nervous. Hi, you found the place okay? GPS helped. This is a nice neighborhood. It wasn't. Not really. But it was safe, and the rent was manageable, which was all Adrian could afford. You ready? He asked. Terrified, but yes. They went to the park first, the same one Vanessa could see from her office window. It was crowded with weekend families, kids on swings, couples holding hands, the world going about its normal Saturday business. I used to hate this place, Vanessa said as they walked, looking at it from my window, seeing everyone so happy. And now? Now I'm here. Actually here. She looked around like she was seeing it for the first time. It's different on the ground? Better or worse? Just different. They walked in silence for a while, not touching, maintaining a careful distance, like they were both afraid of what would happen if they got too close. Tell me about Emma, Vanessa said eventually. Really tell me, not just the work-appropriate version. So Adrian did. Told her about Emma's nightmares and her fierce independence, about her obsession with dinosaurs and her hatred of peas, about the way she asked a million questions and remembered every answer, about how scared he'd been when her mother left, terrified he'd screw her up forever. You won't, Vanessa said quietly. How do you know? Because you care enough to worry. Bad parents don't worry. Did your father worry? Vanessa laughed, sharp. My father worried about quarterly earnings, about reputation, about legacy, not about whether I was happy. Do you think he loved you? I think he loved what I represented, his legacy, his immortality. She stopped walking, turned to face him. But love me? As a person? I don't think he knew how. I'm sorry. Don't be. It made me who I am. Lonely and successful? Adrian said gently. Exactly. Vanessa smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Though the lonely part is getting better. They found a bench, sat watching the world. A father played catch with his son. A couple kissed under a tree. Normal life, unfolding. Can I ask you something? Vanessa said. Anything. Emma's mother. Do you still love her? Adrian thought about it, really thought. No, I don't think I do. I'm angry at her sometimes. For leaving, for hurting Emma. But love? He shook his head. That died a while ago. Do you think you could love someone else after that? Is that a theoretical question or a specific one? Vanessa looked at him. Specific. Adrian's breath caught. Yeah, I think I could. Even though it might hurt again? Especially because it might hurt. That's how you know it's real. They sat there, the question hanging between them like possibility, like hope. I've never been in love, Vanessa admitted. Never let myself get close enough. Always seemed like too much risk for too little return. And now? Now I'm sitting in a park with you, terrified and hopeful, and completely out of my depth. She laughed. So either I'm losing my mind or what? Or this is what people mean when they talk about taking chances. Adrian reached over, took her hand. Her fingers curled around his immediately, like they'd been waiting. I'm scared too, he said, of screwing this up, of hurting you, of... A small voice interrupted. Daddy? Adrian's heart stopped. He turned to find Emma standing 5 feet away,
Mrs. Chen behind her looking apologetic. Emma, what are you? Mrs. Chen brought me to feed the ducks. Emma's eyes were locked on Vanessa. Is this her, your boss? Adrian stood, still holding Vanessa's hand because letting go now felt like cowardice. Yeah, Emma, this is Vanessa. Vanessa, this is my daughter Emma. Vanessa stood too, and Adrian could see her panic. See her trying to figure out what to say, how to act. The CEO was gone. This was just a woman who'd never talked to a 6-year-old before. Hi, Emma, Vanessa said carefully. Emma stared at her. Then, with the bluntness only kids possess, Are you Daddy's girlfriend? We're... Vanessa looked at Adrian, lost. We're seeing if we like each other, Adrian said, squeezing Vanessa's hand. Like how you and Sophie are best friends. We're figuring out if we might be best friends too. Grown-up best friends, Emma clarified. The kissing kind. Emma, Mrs. Chen says that's what girlfriends are, best friends who kiss. Mrs. Chen, standing behind Emma, mouthed an apology. Adrian was going to have words with her later. Yes, Vanessa said, finding her voice. The kissing kind. If that's okay with you. Emma studied Vanessa with unnerving intensity. Do you make my daddy happy? I hope so. Does he make you happy? Yes, very much. Do you yell? Vanessa blinked. No, I don't yell. Good, because Daddy doesn't like yelling. Emma crossed her arms. Are you going to leave like my mommy did? The question landed like a bomb. Adrian started to intervene, but Vanessa stopped him with a look. She knelt down, getting to Emma's level. I can't promise I'll never leave because I don't know what the future holds. But I can promise I won't leave because of you or your dad. If I ever have to go, it won't be because you weren't enough. Emma's eyes got bright. Mommy said we weren't enough. Then your mommy was wrong. And honestly, pretty stupid. Emma's face broke into a surprised smile. You said stupid. I did, because it's true. Your dad is... Vanessa glanced up at Adrian, and her expression was so open it hurt. He's pretty great, and you seem pretty great too. So your mom missing out on that? Stupid. Emma giggled. Then, impulsively, she hugged Vanessa. Vanessa froze for a second, clearly having no idea what to do. Then her arms came up awkwardly, patting Emma's back like she was handling explosives. Adrian's throat got tight watching them. Two people trying to figure out how to connect, how to be gentle with each other. Okay, Emma said, pulling back. You can be Daddy's girlfriend, but you have to come over for dinner sometimes, and you can't work on weekends. Weekends are for family. I'll do my best, Vanessa said seriously. Good. Emma turned to Mrs. Chen. Can we feed the ducks now? Mrs. Chen led Emma away, shooting Adrian a thumbs up. Adrian stood there with Vanessa, both of them slightly shell-shocked. That just happened, Vanessa said. Yeah. Welcome to parenting. No warning, maximum awkwardness. She's amazing, Adrian. She's terrifying, gets it from her father. Vanessa laughed, and it sounded shaky. I have no idea what I'm doing, with kids, with this. Neither do I. We'll figure it out. They watched Emma chase ducks, her laughter carrying across the park. Vanessa's hand found Adrian's again. She really okay with this? Vanessa asked quietly. With us? I think so. She just wants me to be happy, and she wants whoever's in my life to stick around. I want to stick around, Vanessa whispered. That terrifies me, but I do. Adrian pulled her closer, kissed her temple. Then stick around. We'll make it work. They spent the rest of the afternoon in the park. Emma insisted Vanessa help feed the ducks, which Vanessa did with the focused intensity she normally reserved for business deals. Mrs. Chen eventually left, giving Adrian a knowing look that said they'd definitely be having a conversation later. As the sun started to set, Emma declared she was hungry. Can Vanessa stay for dinner? Adrian looked at Vanessa, giving her an out, but she nodded. I'd like that. Dinner was chaos. Emma talked nonstop, asking Vanessa a million questions. What's your favorite color? Do you like dinosaurs? Can you do a cartwheel? Vanessa answered each one seriously, like Emma's opinions mattered. Adrian made spaghetti, the only thing he could reliably cook that Emma would actually eat. They sat at his tiny kitchen table, elbows bumping, Emma's dinosaur placemat taking up half the surface. "This is nice," Vanessa said quietly, while Emma was in the bathroom washing her hands. "It's cramped and chaotic. It's a home." She looked around the small apartment, at Emma's drawings on the fridge, the toy dinosaurs scattered across the floor, the comfortable mess of life being lived. "I have a penthouse that costs more than most people make in a year, but it's not this." "You can have this," Adrian said, "if you want it." Vanessa met his eyes. "I'm starting to think I do." After dinner, Emma insisted on showing Vanessa her room, the dinosaur posters, the books, the stuffed animals arranged with military precision. Vanessa listened to every word, asked questions, treated Emma like she mattered. By the time Emma finally crashed, exhausted from excitement, it was past her bedtime. Adrian tucked her in while Vanessa waited in the living room. "You like her?" he asked Emma quietly. "She's okay," Emma said, which in 6-year-old speak meant approval. "She doesn't talk to me like I'm dumb. She doesn't think you're dumb." "I know," Emma yawned. "Is she staying?" "Just for a little while." "'Kay. Night, Daddy." "Night, sweetheart." Adrian found Vanessa standing at his window, looking out at the street below. She turned when he entered, and her expression was complicated. "Thank you," she said, "for today, for letting me meet her. Thank you for being so good with her. I know kids aren't your thing." "They're not. But Emma, she's special." "Yeah, she is." They stood there, the apartment quiet around them. The day had been perfect and terrifying and completely unexpected. "I should go," Vanessa said, but she didn't move. "Or you could stay," Adrian said. I don't mean like that. Just stay. For a while." So Vanessa stayed. They sat on Adrian's lumpy couch, talking until midnight about everything and nothing, about Emma and work and the future that felt both terrifying and possible. When Vanessa finally left, Adrian walked her to her car. They kissed goodnight on the sidewalk, longer this time, deeper, like they were learning each other, like they had all the time in the world. "See you Monday?" Vanessa asked. "See you Monday." She drove away and Adrian stood there feeling like his life had just shifted into something new, something he didn't have a name for yet, something that felt an awful lot like hope. Monday morning came with complications Adrian should have anticipated, but somehow hadn't. He walked into the office at his usual early hour to find Patricia waiting by his door, her expression carefully neutral in that way that meant trouble. "Mr. Cole," she said, "Ms. Hale would like to see you, immediately." Adrian's stomach dropped. Something was wrong. Vanessa never summoned him through Patricia anymore. She just texted him directly. The formality meant witnesses, meant official. He knocked on Vanessa's door. Her voice came through, crisp and professional. "Come in." She sat behind her desk, and the woman from Saturday, the one who'd fed ducks with Emma and eaten spaghetti at his kitchen table, was gone. This was the Ice Queen, all sharp edges and controlled distance. "Close the door," Vanessa said. Adrian did. Waited. "We have a problem," she said, not meeting his eyes. "Richard from the board called me this morning. Someone saw us. At the park on Saturday. Took a photo. It's circulating." "A photo of what?" "Us. Holding hands. With your daughter." Vanessa's jaw was tight. Richard wanted to know if I was aware of the company's fraternization policy. The bottom dropped out of Adrian's world. "What did you tell him?" "That it was none of his business." Which was stupid, because now he's calling an emergency board meeting for Thursday. Vanessa finally looked at him, and her eyes were scared. "They're going to make me choose, Adrian. You or the company." "Then we end it," Adrian said immediately. "Right now. I'll transfer departments. We'll go back to professional." "Is that what you want?" "No, but I won't let you lose everything you've built for what? For you?" Vanessa stood, came around the desk. "Don't finish that sentence like you're not worth it." "I'm not. Not compared to this." Adrian gestured at the office, the view, the empire. "You've worked your whole life for this." "I've been in your life for a few months. The math is simple." "Stop doing math and listen to me." Vanessa's voice was sharp. "I don't want to choose, but But if they make me, I need to know, is this real? Are we real? Or are we just two lonely people who found each other at the right time? Adrian looked at her, really looked, saw the fear beneath the ice, the hope she was trying to hide. I don't know, he said honestly. I know I think about you constantly. I know Emma already likes you, which is terrifying because if this falls apart, it hurts her too. I know that when I'm with you, I feel like maybe I could be more than just a guy barely holding his life together. You are more than that. But is it enough? For you? Adrian moved closer. Because you could have anyone, someone at your level, someone who fits in your world. Instead, you're risking everything for a single dad with $4 in his checking account and a 6-year-old who asks too many questions. Vanessa reached up, touched his face. I don't want someone at my level. I want someone who sees me, who makes me want to be better, who, her voice broke slightly, who makes me want to risk everything. Even the company? I don't know. The admission cost her. I should say yes, should say you matter more than quarterly earnings and board approval, but I've spent 7 years building this. It's all I have. It's not, Adrian said quietly. Not anymore. They stood there, close enough to kiss, the weight of impossible choices pressing down. Before either could speak, Adrian's phone buzzed, then Vanessa's, then both at once. Vanessa looked at hers first, her face went pale. What? Adrian asked. She turned the screen toward him. An email, forwarded from someone in legal. Attached was the photo, Adrian and Vanessa on the park bench, Emma between them, all three smiling. The headline read, Hale Industries CEO's secret family, fraternization scandal rocks executive suite. It's on the business blogs, Vanessa said, her voice hollow. Someone leaked it to the press. Adrian's phone was exploding with texts. Mrs. Chen asking if he was okay. His sister demanding to know who the woman in the photo was. Unknown numbers, probably reporters who'd tracked down his cell. I'm sorry, Adrian said. I'm so sorry. If I hadn't suggested the park, don't. Vanessa was scrolling through emails, her face getting tighter with each one. This isn't your fault. Someone at the company did this. Someone who wants me gone. Who? Take your pick. Half the board thinks I'm too young. The other half thinks a woman can't run the company long term. She looked at him. And now they have ammunition. CEO sleeping with an employee, violating company policy, using her position for personal gain. We're not. Doesn't matter. Appearance is reality in this world. Vanessa set down her phone. You need to go, now, before this gets worse. I'm not leaving you to deal with this alone. You have to. For Emma. If this turns into a media circus, they'll come after you. After her. I won't let that happen. Adrian grabbed her hand. Then let me help. Let me stand with you. Face the board together. They'll fire you. Let them. I'll find another job. And lose everything? The salary? The benefits? Vanessa shook her head. Emma needs stability. I won't be the reason she loses that. She needs her father happy more than she needs a bigger paycheck. You don't know that. You're not thinking clearly. Neither are you. Adrian pulled her closer. You're so used to fighting alone, you forgot people can help, can stand beside you. But I'm here, and I'm not running just because it got hard. Vanessa's eyes were bright. Why? Why are you willing to risk this? Because you're worth it. Because Emma deserves to see her dad fight for something that matters. Because... He stopped, the words catching. Because what? Because I think I'm falling in love with you, Adrian said quietly. And I know it's too soon and probably stupid and definitely complicated, but it's true. Vanessa stared at him. For a moment, she looked utterly lost. Then she kissed him, hard, desperate, like he was air and she was drowning. When they broke apart, she was crying. Silent tears tracking down her face. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. How to be with someone. How to let someone in. My father taught me to be strong, independent, to never need anyone. And now you're standing here saying you love me, and I can't. You don't have to say it back. I'm not asking for anything except the truth. Do you want to fight for this? For us? Vanessa closed her eyes. When she opened them, something had shifted, hardened. Yes, but not like this. Not with you risking everything. Then how? I face the board alone. I make this right. And if they fire me, I walk away with my head high. She touched his face. But you stay here, keep your job. Take care of Emma. Don't let my mistakes ruin your life. It's not negotiable, Adrian. Her voice had gone cold. CEO voice. You're officially transferred to the marketing department, effective immediately. Report to Susan Chen on the 3rd floor. You'll keep your salary and benefits, but we're done. Professionally and personally. The words hit like a physical blow. You're ending this? Just like that? I'm protecting you. There's a difference. Bullshit. You're running. You're so scared of needing someone that you're pushing me away the second it gets hard. Maybe I am. Vanessa stepped back, putting distance between them. Or maybe I'm being realistic. This was never going to work. You said it yourself. I could have anyone. Someone who fits my world. Someone who doesn't come with complications. You don't believe that. It doesn't matter what I believe. The board meets Thursday. By Friday, this will all be over. She moved back behind her desk, retreating to familiar ground. Patricia will handle your transfer paperwork. Clean out your office by end of day. Adrian stood there, feeling like the floor had disappeared beneath him. So that's it? You're just giving up? I'm being smart. Something you should try. Smart would be fighting. Together. Get out, Adrian. He should have argued more, should have pushed harder, but the look in Vanessa's eyes, ice and fear and pain, all mixed together, told him she'd already made her choice. Adrian left, walked to his office in a daze, sat down at his desk and stared at the window, the one that looked across the hall to Vanessa's office, the one he'd been so excited about 6 weeks ago. His phone buzzed. Text from Vanessa. I'm sorry, this is better for both of us. Adrian typed and deleted 5 responses before settling on, You're lying to yourself, but I'll respect your choice. No response came. He spent the day packing. Susan Chen from marketing came by, all efficiency and zero sympathy, walking him through his new responsibilities. It was a lateral move, same pay, same benefits, but completely different work. No more direct contact with Vanessa. No more late night strategizing. No more Thursday dinners. By 5 o'clock, Adrian's personal items fit in a single cardboard box. 3 years of his life reduced to a coffee mug, some family photos, and a plant Emma had given him that was somehow still alive. Marcus, the security guard, helped him carry everything down. Heard you got transferred, Marcus said in the elevator. That's rough, man. Yeah. For what it's worth, people around here liked you. Thought you were doing good work. Thanks. Marcus hesitated. Is it true? About you and Ms. Hale? Adrian looked at him. Does it matter? Guess not. Just everyone's talking, saying she's getting soft, that you're a distraction. She's not soft. She's the strongest person I know. Then why'd she transfer you? Good question. Adrian didn't have a good answer. He drove home through rush hour traffic, his head pounding. Emma was at daycare until 6, which gave him an hour to figure out how to explain this. How to tell his daughter that the woman she'd just met, the one she'd approved of, was gone. Mrs. Chen was waiting on his doorstep, arms crossed. Start talking. How much do you know? There's a photo on the internet of you, Ms. Hale, and Emma at the park. The comments are, well, they're not kind. Mrs. Chen's expression softened. Are you okay? No, but I will be. Does Emma know? Not yet. I'll tell her tonight. Mrs. Chen nodded. For what it's worth, I saw how that woman looked at you on Saturday. That wasn't fake. Whatever's happening, she cares about you. Not enough to fight for it. Or too much to risk hurting you. Mrs. Chen patted his arm. Give her time. Sometimes the strongest people are the slowest to trust. Adrian picked up Emma at 6. She was full of stories about her day, about art class and the new girl who liked dinosaurs too. Adrian let her talk, grateful for the distraction. Can Vanessa come over again soon? Emma asked in the car. I want to show her my new book about pterodactyls. Adrian's hands tightened on the wheel. Actually, sweetheart, we need to talk about that. About what? About Vanessa, and about about how sometimes grown-ups try things and they don't work out.
Emma went very still in the back seat. She's leaving? Not exactly. We're not going to see each other anymore. Outside of work, I mean. Why not? It's complicated. That's what grown-ups always say when they don't want to explain. Emma's voice was getting tight. Did you fight? No, her job is really important, and being with me was making that job harder, so she made a choice. She chose her job over you? Put like that, it sounded worse.
She chose what she thought was best for everyone. That's stupid, Emma said, and she sounded angry. You're the best. Why would she choose a job over you? Because sometimes people are scared, and when they're scared, they make choices that seem safe, even if they're not right. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then, like when Mommy left? The comparison hit Adrian in the chest. No, sweetheart. Your mom left because she didn't want to be a mom. Vanessa left because she was trying to protect us. There's a difference. It feels the same, Emma said quietly, like I'm not enough to make people stay. Adrian pulled over, put the car in park, turned around to face his daughter. Emma, look at me. You are enough. You are more than enough. What happened with your mom and what's happening with Vanessa? None of that is because of you. Do you understand? Emma's eyes were wet. Then why does everyone leave? They don't. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And Vanessa, she's not leaving because of you. She's leaving because she's scared of what happens if she stays, but that's her fear, not your fault. Do you love her? The question caught Adrian off guard. Yeah, I think I do. Did you tell her? Yes. What did she say? She didn't say anything. She just pushed me away. Emma wiped her eyes. That's dumb. When you love someone, you're supposed to tell them. That's what you always say. I did tell her, but did she believe you? Emma unbuckled her seatbelt, climbed into the front seat. Illegal and against all the rules, but Adrian let it happen. She curled up in his lap, small and warm. Maybe she needs more time to believe it's real. Adrian held his daughter, breathing in her kid shampoo smell. Maybe, but I can't make her believe something she doesn't want to believe. So you're just giving up? I'm respecting her choice. That sounds like giving up. Adrian smiled despite everything. When did you get so wise? I'm 6. I know things. They sat there for a while, Emma in his lap, cars passing by outside. Eventually, Adrian said, How about we go home and order pizza? Watch that movie about the dinosaurs you love. The one with the mean T-Rex? That's the one. Okay. But Daddy? Yeah? If Vanessa changes her mind, you should give her another chance. Everyone deserves second chances. Adrian kissed the top of her head. We'll see, sweetheart. But privately, he didn't think Vanessa would change her mind. She'd made her choice. The company over him. Safety over risk. And Adrian couldn't blame her. Not really. She'd built that empire from scratch, poured 7 years of her life into it. Of course she'd choose it over a relationship that had barely started. That didn't stop it from hurting. The next 3 days passed in a blur. Adrian started his new job in marketing, working on campaigns and demographics instead of strategy and presentations. His new coworkers were fine, friendly enough, professional. But it wasn't the same. He missed the high-stakes projects, missed the challenge of working directly with Vanessa, missed her. Wednesday night, his phone rang. Unknown number. Adrian almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Adrian Cole. A woman's voice, professional. Yeah? My name is Jennifer Ross. I'm a reporter with the Business Chronicle. I'm doing a piece on Vanessa Hale and the recent fraternization allegations. Do you have time for a few questions? Adrian's blood went cold. No comment. I understand you were recently transferred from Ms. Hale's direct supervision to the marketing department. Can you confirm whether this was related to your personal relationship? No comment. Sources say Ms. Hale showed favoritism toward you, promoted you despite limited qualifications, used company resources for personal... Adrian hung up. His hands were shaking. They were coming after her, really coming, and he couldn't do anything to stop it. Thursday arrived with gray skies and freezing rain. The board meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. Adrian knew because the whole office knew. Rumors had been flying for days. Some people thought Vanessa would survive it. Most thought she'd be forced out by the end of the week. Adrian tried to work, tried to focus on the campaign brief Susan had assigned him, but his mind kept drifting to the executive floor, to Vanessa facing down the board alone. At 2:15, his phone buzzed, text from a number he didn't recognize. "She's in there. Been going for 15 minutes already. Sounds bad. Patricia." How Patricia had gotten his number, Adrian didn't know, but he was grateful for the update. 2:30, no news. 3 o'clock, still nothing. 3:30. Adrian's phone rang, Patricia this time calling directly. "You need to come up here," she said without preamble. "Now." "Why? What happened?" "Just come. She's asking for you." Adrian ran. Took the stairs because the elevator was too slow. Burst onto the executive floor, breathing hard. The boardroom doors stood open. Inside, Adrian could see the long table, the expensive chairs. Most of the board members were gone, but a few remained, gathering papers and laptops. Vanessa stood by the window, alone. Adrian approached slowly. "Vanessa?" She turned, and her face was a mask, completely blank. "They gave me an ultimatum," she said, her voice flat. "End the relationship and publicly deny any favoritism or resign." Adrian's stomach dropped. "What did you say?" "I told them to go to hell." For a moment, Adrian couldn't process it. "You... what?" "I resigned, effective immediately." Vanessa laughed, and it sounded broken. 7 years, gone in under an hour. "No."
"No, you can't. You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did." She finally looked at him, and her eyes were wet. "Because they wanted me to lie, to stand in front of cameras and say you meant nothing, that I used you, and I couldn't, I won't." Her voice cracked. Adrian closed the distance between them, pulled her into his arms. Vanessa broke. She sobbed against his chest, 7 years of ice melting all at once. Adrian held her, feeling her shake, letting her fall apart in a way she probably hadn't since her father died. "I'm sorry," she kept saying. "I'm so sorry. I ruined everything." "No, you didn't. You chose what mattered." "I chose you over my company, over everything I built. How is that not ruining everything?" "Because the company was never going to love you back," Adrian said quietly. "Because numbers on a spreadsheet don't hold you when you're scared. Because maybe, just maybe, there's more to life than building empires." Vanessa pulled back, wiping her eyes. "I don't know how to be anything else. CEO is all I've been for 7 years. Before that, I was the heir, the one who had to prove herself. I don't know who I am without that." "Then we'll figure it out. Together." "What if I'm terrible at being normal? What if I don't know how to just be a person? Then you'll be terrible at it, and I'll be terrible at it with you." Adrian touched her face. "You think I know what I'm doing? I'm a single dad working in marketing who just watched the woman he loves blow up her entire life. I'm terrified. But I'm here. And I'm not leaving." "You love me," Vanessa said, like she was testing the words. "Yeah, I do. Even though I'm a mess? Even though I just lost everything?" "You didn't lose everything. You're still here. I'm still here. That's not nothing." Vanessa looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, so quietly he almost missed it, "I love you too." The words hung in the air between them. "You don't have to say that just because I'm not." Vanessa gripped his shirt. "I love you. I'm terrified, and I have no idea what comes next, and I just threw away my entire career. But I love you, and that's the only thing I'm sure of right now." Adrian kissed her, soft at first, then deeper, tasting salt from her tears, feeling her hands fist in his shirt like she was afraid he'd disappear. When they broke apart, Patricia was standing in the doorway, trying very hard to look professional and failing completely. "They want your access card and office keys," Patricia said. "I told them to shove it, but legally, it's fine." Vanessa pulled away from Adrian, wiping her face. "I'll clear out my office." "I'll help," Adrian said. They spent the next hour packing up 7 years of Vanessa's life, awards and photos and files. The expensive art came down from the walls. The coffee maker, the good one, not the cheap office kind, got wrapped in newspaper. It should have felt like a funeral. Instead, it felt like liberation.
I hated that painting, Vanessa said, looking at an abstract piece that probably cost 6 figures. My father picked it out, said it projected power.
What do you think? I think it looks like someone threw paint at a canvas and called it art. She left it leaning against the wall, not taking it. By 5 o'clock, Vanessa's personal items fit in 3 boxes. Not much to show for 7 years, but maybe that was the point. They loaded everything into Vanessa's car. The sky had cleared, leaving everything wet and shining. What now? Vanessa asked, standing in the parking garage. Now you come home with me. Have dinner with Emma.
Figure out tomorrow when tomorrow comes. Just like that? Just like that. Vanessa looked up at the building, 15 floors of glass and steel and corporate power, her empire, her prison. I'm free, she said, and she sounded surprised. For the first time in my life, I'm actually free. How does it feel? Terrifying, Vanessa admitted, but also good, really good. They drove to Adrian's apartment in separate cars, Vanessa following his taillights through the city. Emma was already home. Mrs. Chen had picked her up from school, bribed with promises of explanations later. Emma opened the door when they knocked. Her eyes went wide when she saw Vanessa. You came back, Emma said. I did, Vanessa said. If that's okay with you. Are you staying this time? Vanessa looked at Adrian. He nodded. She knelt down to Emma's level. Yeah, Vanessa said. I'm staying, if you'll have me. Emma threw her arms around Vanessa's neck. You can stay forever, but you have to have dinner with us, and help with homework sometimes, and learn about dinosaurs. I can do that, Vanessa said, hugging her back. Adrian watched them, his heart so full it hurt. His daughter and the woman he loved, figuring out how to be a family, messy and imperfect and completely real. Mrs. Chen appeared in the hallway, took one look at the scene, and smiled. I'll go get my casserole dish. You're going to need a proper celebration dinner. That night, they ate Mrs. Chen's casserole at Adrian's tiny kitchen table. Emma talked non-stop about her day. Vanessa listened like it was the most important thing in the world. Adrian sat there thinking about how much had changed in 3 months. After Emma went to bed, after 2 stories and 3 glasses of water and one very serious conversation about whether pterodactyls were actually dinosaurs, Adrian and Vanessa sat on his couch. I'm unemployed, Vanessa said, for the first time since I was 16. How does it feel? Weird. I keep reaching for my phone to check emails that aren't there anymore. She looked at him. What do normal people do when they're not working 70-hour weeks? They live. They spend time with people they care about. They remember there's more to existence than quarterly reports. Sounds boring. It's not, trust me. Vanessa leaned against him, her head on his shoulder. I'm scared, Adrian, of what comes next, of whether I can do this. Be normal. Be human. Yeah. You don't have to be normal. You just have to be you. The real you, not the version your father wanted you to be. I don't know who that is yet. Then we'll figure it out together, Adrian said. No rush, no pressure, just one day at a time. They sat in comfortable silence, the apartment quiet around them. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, for the first time in a long time, Adrian felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. His phone buzzed. Email from HR. Your transfer to marketing has been made permanent. Please complete the attached paperwork. Adrian deleted it. Tomorrow's problem. Tonight, he had everything that mattered right here. Vanessa fell asleep on his couch, exhausted from the day. Adrian covered her with a blanket, kissed her forehead. She murmured something in her sleep, her hand reaching for his. He took it, held on. Whatever came next, the media fallout, the job search, the complicated work of building a life together, they'd face it, together. And that was enough. Vanessa woke up on Adrian's couch at 6 a.m., disoriented and stiff. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then it all came flooding back. The board meeting, the resignation, the feeling of her entire world crashing down and somehow, impossibly, landing somewhere softer than she'd expected. Adrian was asleep in the chair across from her, his head at an awkward angle that was going to give him a terrible neck ache. He'd stayed up watching over her, The realization made something in Vanessa's chest crack open a little wider. She checked her phone out of habit. 73 emails, 15 missed calls, 26 text messages, most from board members, investors, people who'd called themselves her colleagues, all of them wanting explanations, damage control, reassurance that the company wouldn't fall apart without her. None of them asking if she was okay. Vanessa deleted them all without reading. Then she deleted her work email from her phone entirely. The act felt simultaneously liberating and terrifying. Adrian stirred, opened his eyes. "Hey, you're up. What time does Emma wake up?" "Around 7 on school days. Why?" "I want to make her breakfast, if that's okay." Adrian blinked, like he wasn't sure he'd heard correctly. "You want to make breakfast?" "I can cook. I mean, I haven't in years, but I used to, before her father died and she became CEO and forgot there was life outside the office. I'd like to try." "The kitchen's all yours. Fair warning, though. Emma's picky. She'll eat pancakes, scrambled eggs, or cereal. That's about it." Vanessa stood, folding the blanket Adrian had covered her with. "Pancakes it is." The kitchen was small, cramped, nothing like the gleaming chef's kitchen in her penthouse that she'd used maybe twice in 5 years. But there was something comforting about it. Emma's drawings on the fridge, Adrian's coffee mug in the sink, signs of life actually being lived. Vanessa found a box of pancake mix in the cupboard, the kind you just add water to. She felt vaguely insulted by the simplicity, then remembered she hadn't cooked in 7 years and maybe simple was good. She was halfway through the first batch when Emma appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. "You're still here," Emma said, and the relief in her voice was palpable. "I am. Hope you're hungry." Emma climbed onto a chair at the kitchen table. "Daddy says you quit your job." "I did." "Why?" Vanessa flipped a pancake, buying time. "How did you explain corporate politics and fraternization policies to a 6-year-old? "Because my job wanted me to choose between them and your dad. And I chose your dad." "Was it hard to choose?" "Harder than anything I've ever done." "But you did it anyway," Emma said. "That's brave." Vanessa's throat got tight. "Or stupid." Daddy says brave and stupid are sometimes the same thing. It depends on whether it works out. Your dad's pretty smart. I know. Emma swung her legs under the table. Are you going to get a new job? Eventually. Right now I'm just trying to figure out what comes next. You could work at my school. Mrs. Peterson in the office is really old. She might retire soon. But Vanessa smiled despite herself. I'll keep that in mind. Adrian appeared as she was plating the pancakes. He stopped in the doorway, looking at Vanessa in his kitchen, cooking breakfast for his daughter, and something crossed his face that Vanessa couldn't quite name. This is weird, right? Vanessa said. Me being here, cooking. This is too domestic, too fast. It's not weird, Adrian said quietly. It's nice. They ate breakfast together, the three of them squeezed around the small table. Emma chattered about school and her friend Sophie and the upcoming science fair. Vanessa listened, asked questions, tried to remember how to be a person instead of a CEO. After breakfast, Adrian got Emma ready for school while Vanessa cleaned up. She was washing dishes, actually washing dishes by hand, something she hadn't done since college, when her phone rang. Jennifer Ross, the reporter. Vanessa almost didn't answer. Then she thought about the narrative being written about her without her voice in it, about Adrian and Emma being dragged through the media because she was too cowardly to face it. She answered, This is Vanessa Hale. Ms. Hale, thank you for taking my call. I know yesterday was difficult. What do you want to know? A pause. Ross had probably expected deflection, legal speak, the usual corporate non-answers. Is it true you resigned rather than end your relationship with Adrian Cole? Yes. That's quite a sacrifice. 7 years building that company? I didn't build it. I inherited it. What I built was a reputation for being untouchable, for never letting anything matter more than the bottom line. And yeah, I sacrificed that because it was killing me. Can I quote you on that? You can quote me on all of it. I'm done pretending I'm something I'm not. Vanessa looked at Adrian, who was standing in the doorway listening. The board wanted me to lie, to say Adrian was nothing, that I used my position inappropriately. But the truth is he saved my life. Not literally, but I was drowning in that office, in that life. And he saw me, the real me. And I'm not apologizing for choosing that. What about the fraternization policy? The appearance of favoritism? Adrian earned his promotion. He's brilliant at what he does. But yes, I developed feelings for him. And yes, I should have transferred him immediately. I didn't because I was selfish, because for the first time in 7 years I felt human. So if you want to write about how I violated company policy, go ahead, it's true. But don't you dare write that Adrian did anything wrong. This is on me. Ross was quiet for a moment. Off the record, are you okay? The question surprised Vanessa. I don't know yet. Ask me in a month. Fair enough. Thank you for your honesty, Ms. Hale. Vanessa hung up. Adrian was still watching her. That was either very brave or very stupid, he said. According to Emma, they're the same thing. She's not wrong. Adrian moved closer. You didn't have to do that. Didn't have to protect me. Yes, I did, because whatever happens next, I need people to know. You didn't use me. I didn't use you. This is real. Messy and complicated and probably ill-advised, but real. Adrian kissed her, soft and slow, like they had all the time in the world. I need to get Emma to school, he said when they broke apart. You want to come? Is that weird, me showing up at her school? Probably, but we're past weird at this point. So Vanessa found herself in Adrian's beat-up sedan driving through morning traffic to drop Emma at school. It was so aggressively normal, it made her chest ache. You should come to Career Day, Emma announced from the back seat. It's next month. Parents talk about their jobs. I don't have a job anymore, sweetheart, Vanessa said. Then talk about not having a job. That's interesting, too. Adrian caught Vanessa's eye, smiling. She's got a point. They dropped Emma at school, watching her run to join her friends. Vanessa felt a sharp pang of something that might have been longing. She'd never wanted kids, never thought about family, had assumed she'd spend her life alone, building her empire. Now, watching Emma laugh with her friends, Vanessa wondered what else she'd assumed wrong. You want to grab coffee? Adrian asked as they pulled away from the school. Real coffee, not the office swill we're used to. I have nowhere to be. No meetings, no calls, no schedule. Vanessa laughed, and it sounded slightly unhinged. I have no idea what to do with myself. Then we'll figure it out, together. They went to a coffee shop Vanessa had never noticed before, tucked between a dry cleaner and a bookstore, the kind of place with mismatched chairs and local art on the walls and coffee that was actually good. I used to come here before Emma was born, Adrian said, ordering for both of them. Back when I had time to just sit and think. When did you stop? When life got complicated. When being a single dad meant every free minute was about survival, not reflection. He handed her a coffee. Kind of forgot what this felt like. Just existing without a purpose. They sat by the window watching people walk by. Vanessa's phone kept buzzing. More emails, more calls, more people wanting pieces of her she didn't have anymore. You should turn it off, Adrian said. What if Emma's school calls or something important? Then they'll call me. But you need a break from all of it. Vanessa hesitated, then powered down her phone completely. The screen went black and she felt simultaneously relieved and panicked. Now what? She asked. Now we drink coffee and talk. Like normal people. I don't know how to be a normal person. Neither did I when Emma's mom left. Had to learn from scratch. Adrian traced the rim of his cup. It's terrifying at first. All this empty space where the chaos used to be. But then you start filling it with things that matter, and it gets easier. What if I'm bad at it? What if I can't turn off CEO mode and just be? Then you'll be bad at it for a while, and I'll be bad at it with you because, honestly, I'm still figuring this out too. He reached across the table, took her hand. We're both broken in different ways, Vanessa. That's okay. We don't have to be fixed to be together. Your daughter deserves better than broken. My daughter deserves honesty, and people who show up, and love that doesn't quit when things get hard. Adrian squeezed her hand. You chose us over everything you built. That's not broken. That's brave. Vanessa's eyes burned. I'm terrified I made the wrong choice, that in 6 months I'll regret it, that I'll resent you for what I gave up. Maybe you will. I can't promise you won't. Adrian's voice was gentle.
But I can promise I'll be here when you do. We'll work through it. Because that's what people who love each other do.
They sat there, hands linked across the table, the coffee shop humming with quiet conversation. Vanessa tried to remember the last time she'd just sat somewhere. No agenda, no purpose, just existing. She couldn't. I need to do something, she said eventually. I can't just sit. I need purpose, direction. Then let's find you some. What do you actually want to do? Not what you should do or what makes sense. What do you want? Vanessa thought about it, really thought. I don't know. Everything I've wanted for the past 7 years has been about the company, about proving myself, about your father? Yeah. The admission hurt. About showing him I could do it, that I was worthy of the legacy. And now? Now I'm free of that, and I have no idea who I am without it. Adrian stood, pulled her up. Then let's go find out. They spent the day wandering the city like tourists, went to a museum Vanessa had never visited despite living here for a decade, ate lunch at a food truck, walked through neighborhoods Vanessa had only ever seen from the backseat of a town car. This is my life, Adrian said as they walked. This is what I do on weekends when Emma's with her friend Sophie. Just wander, explore, remind myself there's a world outside my apartment and the office. It's nice, Vanessa said, slower than I'm used to, but nice. They stopped at a small park, not the one they'd been photographed at, but similar. Vanessa sat on a bench and watched parents with their kids, couples walking dogs, old men playing chess. I want this, she said quietly. What? This. Normal life, weekends at the park, coffee dates, dinner at home instead of restaurants where they don't list prices. Vanessa looked at him. But I'm also terrified it won't be enough, that I'll get bored, that I'll miss the rush of closing deals and running meetings and being important. Yeah. You're still important, just to different people now. Adrian sat beside her. Look, I'm not going to pretend this is easy. Building a different kind of life after you've spent years building something else, it's hard. Some days you'll hate it, but some days you'll wake up and realize you're happy in a way you never were before, and those days make it worth it. How do you know? Because I lived it. When Emma's mom left, I was furious, felt like I'd lost everything. My marriage, my plans for the future, my sense of who I was supposed to be. But then I started building something different, smaller, maybe, but real, and it saved me. Vanessa leaned against him. What if I can't do it? What if I'm too damaged, too programmed to be the ice queen? Then we'll melt the ice, slowly, one day at a time. That night, after they picked up Emma from school and had dinner at the apartment, takeout Chinese that Emma insisted on eating with chopsticks she didn't know how to use, Vanessa's phone rang. She'd turned it back on to check messages. Mistake. Don't answer it, Adrian said, seeing her face. But Vanessa was already looking at the screen. Richard Chen, head of the board. I need to take this, she said. No, you don't. Yes, I do, or it'll never stop. She answered, stepped into Adrian's small bedroom for privacy. Richard? Vanessa, we need to talk. I resigned. There's nothing left to talk about. That's where you're wrong. The stock dropped 12% today. Investors are panicking. The Dubai deal fell through. Hassan doesn't trust us without you at the helm. That's not my problem anymore. It could be. Come back. We'll restructure your position. Make it so you're not Cole's direct supervisor. Keep everything clean and above board. Vanessa closed her eyes. She'd expected this. The board trying to fix what they'd broken. And Adrian? He stays in marketing. You two keep your relationship quiet. No public displays, no more scandals. So I can have the company or I can have a life. Just not both. That's not what I'm saying. That's exactly what you're saying, Richard. And my answer is no. I'm done hiding, done pretending I'm something I'm not. You're making a mistake. You'll regret this. Maybe. But it'll be my mistake to make. Vanessa hung up before he could respond. When she came back to the living room, Adrian and Emma were building something with blocks on the floor. Emma was explaining very seriously why the foundation needed to be wider. Adrian was listening like it was the most important architectural lesson of his life. They both looked up when Vanessa entered. Everything okay? Adrian asked. They want me back, offered to restructure so we could both stay. Emma's face fell. Adrian's expression was carefully neutral. What did you say? I said no. Why? Emma asked. You could have your job back, be important again. Vanessa sat down on the floor with them, ruining her expensive pants on Adrian's cheap carpet. Because I'm learning that there are different kinds of important. And this? She gestured at the blocks, at Adrian, at the small warm apartment. This is the kind that actually matters. Emma studied her for a long moment. Then she handed Vanessa a block. Okay, but you have to help build, and you have to listen when I tell you how to do it, because I'm the expert. Deal, Vanessa said. They built together until Emma's bedtime. After Adrian tucked her in, he and Vanessa collapsed on the couch. You really turned them down, Adrian said. I did. Do you regret it? Ask me in a month. Vanessa smiled. That's what I told the reporter too. What if in a month you do regret it? Then we'll figure it out, together. She turned to face him. I'm not going to lie and say this is easy, or that I'm not terrified I made the wrong choice, but I meant what I said to Richard. I'm done hiding, done pretending. If I'm going to build a new life, it's going to be honest, even when honesty is scary. Adrian pulled her close. I love you. I love you too, which is still terrifying to say out loud. It gets easier. Does it? No idea. I've only said it to one other person, and that ended badly. Adrian laughed. But I'm willing to find out with you. They sat in comfortable silence, the apartment settling around them. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, something new was beginning, something fragile and uncertain, and completely real. The next few weeks were an adjustment. Vanessa had to learn how to fill days that weren't structured by meetings and deadlines. She started small, grocery shopping with Emma, learning to cook actual meals, joining Adrian for morning coffee runs before he went to work. It was mind-numbingly domestic and surprisingly difficult. I scheduled my entire day, Vanessa admitted one morning, showing Adrian her phone. 8 a.m., breakfast. 9 a.m., grocery shopping. 10:30, clean apartment. Noon, lunch. I color-coded everything. Adrian looked at the schedule and tried not to laugh. You know you don't have to optimize your free time, right? I don't know how else to function. Without structure, I just spiral. Then keep the structure, but maybe leave some blank spaces for spontaneity. I don't do spontaneity. I know, that's why you need practice. That afternoon, Adrian called her at 2 p.m. What are you doing right now? Vanessa checked her schedule. According to my plan, organizing my closet by color and season. Forget the plan. Meet me at Emma's school. She has a thing. What kind of thing? A surprise thing. Just come. Vanessa went, anxiety spiking at the deviation from her schedule. But when she arrived at the school, Emma ran up to her holding a trophy. I won the science fair, Emma shouted. My volcano was the best, and I wanted you to be here to see. Vanessa looked at Adrian, who was grinning. You knew about this? Emma called me at lunch, said she wanted both her parents there for the ceremony. I'm not her parent, Vanessa said quietly. Close enough, Emma said, grabbing her hand. Come on, you have to see the volcano. It actually erupts. That night, after celebrating with ice cream and Emma finally crashing from the sugar high, Adrian found Vanessa looking at her phone. What's wrong? He asked. Nothing, just Emma called me her parent today, and I didn't correct her. Does that bother you? No, that's what scares me. It should bother me. I'm not her mother. I've known you both for 3 months. This is too fast, too intense, too... Real? Adrian suggested. Yeah. Would you rather slow down, take a step back? Vanessa thought about it, about the science fair and the volcano and Emma's face when she won, about morning coffee and grocery shopping and all the small moments that had started to feel like home. No, she said finally. I'm terrified, but I don't want to slow down. I want this. I want you. I want... She gestured vaguely at the apartment, at the life they were building. All of it, even when it's scary. Then we'll be scared together. But fear wasn't their only problem. The media attention intensified as Jennifer Ross's article went viral.
Suddenly, everyone had an opinion on Vanessa Hale's fall from grace. Some called her brave, others called her foolish. Most just called her crazy for choosing a man over billions. The attention started affecting Emma.
Kids at school are asking questions, Emma told Adrian one night, about Vanessa, about whether she's my new mom, about whether we're rich now. What did you tell them? That it's none of their business. But it's weird, Daddy. Everyone's staring, whispering. Adrian's jaw tightened. I'll talk to your teacher. But it wasn't just school. It was everywhere. Photographers outside the apartment, reporters calling Adrian's phone. Someone even approached Mrs. Chen trying to get quotes about their relationship. This is my fault, Vanessa said after a particularly bad day where a photographer had followed them to the park. I brought this chaos into your life. You brought yourself into my life. The chaos came with it, but that's not the same thing. Maybe I should leave. Stay somewhere else until this blows over. No, Adrian's voice was firm. That's what they want. For us to hide, to be ashamed. We're not doing that. But Emma's tough. She'll survive some nosy classmates. What she won't survive is you leaving because things got hard. Vanessa knew he was right, but that didn't make it easier. The breaking point came 3 weeks after Vanessa's resignation. Adrian got called into his boss's office, not Susan Chen, but her supervisor, a man named David Park, who Adrian had barely spoken to. We need to discuss your situation, Park said without preamble. My situation? Your relationship with Vanessa Hale. It's causing problems. Adrian's blood went cold. What kind of problems? The media attention, clients asking questions, employees gossiping instead of working. Park leaned back in his chair. Look, I'm not saying you did anything wrong, but the optics are bad, and we need to think about what's best for the company. You're firing me. No, I'm offering you a choice. Take a leave of absence, paid, with full benefits, until this blows over. Or we can discuss other options. Other options meaning I quit. I'm not saying that. You don't have to. Adrian stood. I'll take the leave. But we both know this is bullshit. I haven't done anything except fall in love with someone who used to be my boss. That's not a crime. No, but it's complicated. And right now we can't afford complicated. Adrian left the office shaking with rage. By the time he got home, Vanessa could see it on his face. What happened? He told her. All of it. Vanessa listened, her expression getting tighter with each word. They're punishing you for being with me, she said when he finished. They're covering their asses. It's different. No, it's not. I've destroyed your career, your stability, Emma's stability, everything you worked for. You didn't destroy anything. The system did. The same system that made you choose between your job and your life. But if we weren't together, don't. Adrian grabbed her hands. Don't you dare finish that sentence. Yes, this is hard. Yes, it's complicated, but I don't regret it. Not for a second. You should. You've lost everything because of me. I haven't lost everything. I lost a job. I still have you. I still have Emma. That's not nothing. Vanessa pulled away, started pacing. This isn't sustainable, Adrian. We can't keep doing this. The media, the gossip, the way it's affecting Emma. Something has to change. Then what do you suggest? I don't know. Maybe I take that job offer. Go back to Hale Industries under the new structure. Give us some breathing room. You mean hide, pretend this isn't real? I mean give you your life back, Vanessa's voice cracked. You were fine before me. Struggling, maybe, but stable. Now you're on forced leave, your daughter is being harassed at school, and it's all my fault. It's not your fault. It's the price of choosing something real in a world that wants us to be fake. Maybe that's a price I'm not willing to pay. The words hung in the air between them, sharp and cutting. Adrian's face went carefully blank. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe we need to take a step back. Figure out if this is actually working or if we're just running from our problems. Yeah, that's definitely the solution. Don't be condescending. Don't be a coward. Adrian's voice was hard now. You did this same thing before. When things got scary, you pushed me away, tried to protect me by leaving, and I called you on it then. I'm calling you on it now. This is different. Emma is involved now. I won't be the reason her life falls apart. Her life isn't falling apart. She's dealing with some gossip at school. Kids are resilient. And what happens when it gets worse? When photographers start following her, when her friends' parents decide she's too controversial to play with. Then we deal with it, together. I don't know how. Vanessa's voice rose. I don't know how to do this. How to be in a relationship. How to be part of a family. I'm failing at all of it and dragging you down with me. Adrian stepped closer, his expression softening. You're not failing. You're learning. There's a difference. It doesn't feel different. I know, but Vanessa, listen to me. Everyone struggles with this. Every parent, every partner, every person trying to build a life with someone else. You're not uniquely broken. You're just human. I don't want to be the reason you lose everything. Then don't leave. Stay. Fight with me. Let's figure this out together instead of you making decisions alone because you're scared. Vanessa's eyes were bright with unshed tears. What if I can't? What if I'm too damaged to do this right? Then you'll be damaged and we'll love you anyway. Me and Emma. That's what family does. The word landed like a punch. Family. I've never had that, Vanessa whispered. Not really. My father he didn't do family. He did legacy and power and control. I don't know how to be anything else. Then let us teach you. Adrian pulled her into his arms. But you have to stop running first. You have to trust that we're strong enough to handle this. All of it, together. Vanessa broke then, finally, sobbed against his chest the way she had after the board meeting, all the fear and doubt and terror of the past few weeks pouring out. Adrian held her through it, didn't try to fix it, just held on. When she finally pulled back, her face was blotchy and her eyes were red, and Adrian thought she'd never looked more beautiful. Okay, she said, I'll stay. I'll stop running, but you have to promise me something. Anything. If this doesn't work, if I hurt Emma, if I ruin your life, you have to tell me. Don't let me destroy everything because you're trying to save me. Deal, but you have to promise me something too. What? Trust me. Trust us. We're stronger than you think. Vanessa nodded, wiping her eyes. I'll try. That's all I'm asking. That night, after Emma was asleep and the apartment was quiet, Vanessa and Adrian sat on the couch talking about next steps. About finding Vanessa meaningful work that wouldn't compromise their relationship. About strategies for dealing with the media. About how to help Emma navigate the attention. It wasn't perfect. They didn't have all the answers. But they had each other, and for now, that was enough. 3 months later, Vanessa still didn't have all the answers. But she was learning that maybe that was okay. She'd started consulting, small businesses mostly, companies that couldn't afford the big strategy firms but needed someone who understood growth and investment. It paid a fraction of what she'd made at Hale Industries, but it was hers. Built on her own terms, without boards or shareholders or anyone telling her who she could love. The media attention had faded mostly. There were still occasional articles, think pieces about women who chose love over ambition, but Vanessa had stopped reading them, had stopped caring what strangers thought about her choices. What mattered was sitting at Adrian's kitchen table on a Saturday morning, helping Emma build a model of the solar system for school, while Adrian made pancakes that were slightly burnt because he'd gotten distracted telling a story about his own disastrous science projects as a kid. Jupiter needs to be bigger, Emma said seriously, examining Vanessa's work. It's the biggest planet. Bigger than this? Vanessa held up the styrofoam ball she'd already painted. Way bigger. Like you could fit 1,000 Earths inside it. That's a lot of Earths. I know, right? Emma grinned. Space is cool. Adrian set down plates of pancakes, slightly lopsided but edible. Breakfast is served, ladies. They ate together, syrup getting everywhere, Emma explaining in exhaustive detail why Pluto should still count as a planet. Vanessa listened, asked questions, felt something settle in her chest that she was still learning to call contentment. Her phone rang. She almost ignored it. Weekends were for family now, a rule she'd implemented and actually stuck to. But the caller ID made her pause. Patricia, her former assistant, who she hadn't spoken to since cleaning out her office. I should take this, Vanessa said. It might be important. Adrian nodded. Vanessa stepped into the bedroom, closed the door. Patricia? Ms. Hale, I'm sorry to call on a weekend, but there's something you need to know. Patricia's voice was tight. Richard Chen is stepping down. Board voted him out last night. Vanessa sat down hard on the bed. What? Why? The Dubai deal falling through was just the start. 3 more major clients pulled out, stocks down 30%. The board blamed Richard for forcing you out, said he prioritized personal vendetta over company welfare. Who's taking over? That's why I'm calling. They want you back. Full reinstatement, CEO position, complete authority. They're prepared to offer whatever you want. Vanessa's heart hammered against her ribs. Everything she'd lost, handed back. The power, the prestige, the empire. What are the conditions? She asked carefully. None. They're desperate. The company's hemorrhaging money without you. You can write your own terms. Vanessa closed her eyes, saw herself back in that office, back in those board meetings, back in the life she'd walked away from. Saw Adrian and Emma becoming secondary again, squeezed into the margins of her schedule. Saw herself turning back into the Ice Queen. Tell them no, Vanessa said. Ms. Hale, I don't think you understand. I understand perfectly. And my answer is no. I'm done with that life, Patricia. I'm building something different now. But the company needs you. The company needs a CEO. That doesn't have to be me. Tell the board to promote Karen Wilson from operations. She's been running things behind the scenes for years anyway. It's time she got the credit. Patricia was quiet for a long moment. You're really not coming back. I'm really not. Can I ask why? Vanessa looked at the closed door, hearing Emma's laughter from the kitchen. Because I finally figured out what actually matters. And it's not quarterly earnings. I'm happy for you, Patricia said, and she sounded like she meant it. Truly. Thank you. And Patricia, you should ask for a raise. Karen's going to need someone who knows how things really work. Make sure she pays you what you're worth. After they hung up, Vanessa sat on the bed for a moment, processing. The old her would have jumped at the offer, would have seen it as vindication, proof she was indispensable. The new her, the one who was still figuring out how to be human, knew better. She found Adrian washing dishes, Emma's solar system spread across the table in various stages of completion. Everything okay? He asked. They offered me my job back, full CEO position, whatever terms I want. Adrian's hand stilled in the soapy water. What did you say? I said no. He turned to look at her, water dripping from his hands. Are you sure? That's everything you worked for? No, it's everything I thought I wanted. There's a difference. Vanessa moved closer. I don't want to go back to that life, Adrian. The 70-hour weeks, the constant pressure, the loneliness. I want this. Morning pancakes and science projects, and her voice caught. And you, both of you. Emma appeared in the doorway, holding Saturn. Are you leaving? No, sweetheart. I'm staying. Promise? Promise. Emma studied her with those 2 perceptive eyes. Then she nodded, satisfied, and went back to her planets. Adrian pulled Vanessa into a hug, not caring about his wet hands soaking her shirt. I'm proud of you, he said quietly. I know that wasn't easy. It was easier than I expected. That's the scary part. Why is that scary? Because it means I've changed. The old me would have taken that offer without thinking twice, but now... Vanessa pulled back to look at him. Now I have something I'm not willing to sacrifice. And I don't know if that makes me stronger or weaker. It makes you human, which is what you've been trying to figure out how to be for months. That afternoon, after Emma's solar system was complete and properly hung from her bedroom ceiling, Vanessa suggested a walk. The 3 of them bundled up against the November cold and headed to the park. Their park, where this whole complicated journey had really started. The trees were bare now, the playground quieter in the chill, but there were still people. Still couples walking hand in hand, still families making memories, still life happening in all its messy, beautiful forms. They found the same bench where the photographer had captured them months ago. Emma ran off to the swings, demanding Adrian push her. Higher, Daddy! I want to touch the sky! Vanessa watched them, feeling that same ache of longing and belonging all mixed together. She'd never imagined herself here. Never thought she'd be the kind of person who spent Saturday afternoons at playgrounds, who knew a 6-year-old's favorite dinosaur, who could be happy with something as simple as this. But here she was. Happy. Imperfectly, messily, completely happy. Adrian jogged back over, slightly winded. She's got more energy than should be humanly possible. She's 6. That's their superpower. Fair point. He sat beside her, their shoulders touching. You've been quiet since the phone call. You okay? I'm thinking. About? About how different my life looks now than it did a year ago. How terrifying that is. How grateful I am for it anyway. Adrian took her hand. Any regrets? A few. I wish I'd been braver earlier. Wish I'd fought the board instead of just walking away. Wish I'd... She stopped. Wish you'd what? Wish I'd known sooner that this was what I needed. That building a life with someone could matter more than building an empire. Vanessa turned to face him. But mostly, I'm just grateful I get to do this. With you. With Emma. Even on the days when I have no idea what I'm doing. You know what I think? Adrian said. I think we're all just making it up as we go. Pretending we have it figured out when really we're just hoping we don't screw it up too badly. That's a depressing philosophy. Or honest one. We're not perfect, Vanessa. Neither of us. Emma's not perfect either. She's stubborn and asks too many questions and refuses to eat anything green. But we're trying. We show up, we don't quit when it gets hard. And that's enough. Is it, though, enough? Ask me in 50 years. Vanessa laughed. 50 years? That's optimistic. I'm an optimistic guy. Comes with the single dad territory. You have to believe things will work out, or you'd never get out of bed. Emma came running back, cheeks pink from the cold and exertion. I'm hungry. Can we get pizza? We just had pancakes 2 hours ago, Adrian said. That was breakfast. This is lunch. They're different. That logic is flawless, Vanessa said, standing. Pizza it is. They walked to the pizza place near Adrian's apartment, the cheap one with the questionable health rating, but excellent cheese. Emma ordered her usual, plain cheese, because apparently all other toppings were weird, while Adrian and Vanessa got something with vegetables to feel like responsible adults. So when do I get to call you Mom? Emma asked around a mouthful of pizza. Vanessa nearly choked on her soda. What? Well, you're like a mom. You live with us now, kind of. You help with homework. You make breakfast sometimes. That's mom stuff. Adrian looked at Vanessa, clearly trying not to laugh at her panic. Emma, we've talked about this. Vanessa is part of our family, Emma interrupted. You said so, and moms are part of families. So when can I call her Mom? Vanessa's throat was tight. I don't know if I'm ready for that, sweetheart. That's a big word. Why? It's just 4 letters. That's shorter than my name. It's not about the letters. It's about what it means. Your real mom is out there somewhere. I don't want to... My real mom left, Emma said matter-of-factly. She doesn't want to be my mom anymore. But you're here. So you could be my mom if you wanted. The here kind, not the left kind. Adrian's eyes were suspiciously bright. Vanessa felt like her chest was cracking open. Can I think about it? Vanessa asked. Being someone's mom it's important. I want to make sure I can do it right before I say yes. Okay, Emma said, apparently satisfied. But don't take too long. I'm not getting any younger. Adrian burst out laughing. You're 6. Exactly. That's almost 7. Time's running out. That night, after Emma was asleep and the apartment was quiet, Vanessa and Adrian sat on the couch, not talking, just existing in the same space, comfortable with the silence. She really asked you that, Adrian said finally, about being her mom. She did. And? And I'm terrified. I have no idea how to be a mother. I barely know how to be a functional adult most days. What if I screw it up? What if I damage her somehow? Join the club. Every parent is terrified of screwing up their kid. But you know what? You show up anyway. You try your best. And you love them even when you get it wrong. You make it sound simple. It's not. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. But it's also the best thing. Adrian turned to face her. You don't have to say yes. Emma will understand if you're not ready. But Vanessa, you're already doing the work. Already showing up. Already loving her. The title is just making it official. What if her real mom comes back? What if she decides she wants to be part of Emma's life again? Then we'll deal with it. Together. But you can't live your life afraid of what ifs. Trust me, I tried that after she left. It doesn't work. Vanessa leaned against him. When did you get so wise?
About 3 years of therapy and one very patient daughter ago. They sat there for a while, Vanessa's mind spinning.
Being Emma's mom meant commitment, meant staying even when things got hard, meant being the person a child counted on, which was terrifying on a level Vanessa couldn't fully articulate. But it also meant belonging, meant family, meant all those things she'd convinced herself she didn't need because they'd never been offered. I want to say yes, Vanessa said quietly, but I need time. Need to make sure I'm ready to be what she needs. Take all the time you need. We're not going anywhere. The weeks that followed were full of small moments that felt significant. Vanessa helping Emma with math homework, struggling through multiplication tables she hadn't thought about in 20 years. Emma teaching Vanessa the names of different dinosaurs, patient with Vanessa's inability to remember which one had the plates on its back. The three of them cooking dinner together, burning things and laughing about it, ordering takeout when their ambitions exceeded their skills. It was ordinary, spectacularly, beautifully ordinary. And Vanessa was learning to love it. She'd also started something new, a foundation focused on helping women in business who'd been pushed out or sidelined for personal choices. It started small, just her and a few other former executives pooling resources. But it was growing, becoming something real. You're building another empire, Adrian teased one night, watching her work on grant proposals at the kitchen table. A smaller one that actually helps people instead of just making money. Still an empire, though? Maybe. But this time I'm doing it on my terms, with space for everything else that matters. Adrian kissed the top of her head. I'm proud of you. For what? For figuring out how to be both. The successful businesswoman and the person who shows up for dinner. A lot of people can't do that. A lot of people don't have you reminding them that balance exists. True, I'm very wise. You're very something. Christmas came, and with it, complications. Emma wanted to put up a tree, wanted decorations and lights, and all the trappings of a family holiday. Adrian was on board, but he pulled Vanessa aside first. Emma's mom used to call on Christmas, he said quietly, just to say hi. She hasn't in 2 years, but if she does this year, it might be hard. For all of us. What do you want me to do if she calls? Be here. That's all. Just be here. They decorated the tree together, Emma directing their every move with the authority of a 6-year-old who knew exactly how Christmas should look. Vanessa hung ornaments and tried not to think about her own childhood Christmases, cold, formal affairs in her father's mansion where presents were expensive and affection was absent. This was different. This was Emma giggling as she hung a misshapen ornament she'd made in art class. This was Adrian untangling lights and cursing under his breath, while Emma repeated his words and Vanessa had to hide her smile. This was messy and warm and real. We need a star for the top, Emma announced. That's the most important part. You want to put it up? Adrian asked. We should all do it, together, like a family. So the three of them lifted Emma up, Vanessa on one side, Adrian on the other, and Emma placed the star on top of the tree. It was crooked and slightly too big for the tree, but it was perfect. That night, after Emma was in bed, Adrian found Vanessa standing in front of the tree, just looking at it. You okay? He asked. Yeah, just this is the first Christmas I've had that felt like Christmas, if that makes sense. It does. My father used to throw these huge parties, hundreds of people, expensive everything, photographers documenting it all. But it was never about the holiday. It was about showing off, about impressing people. Vanessa touched one of Emma's handmade ornaments. This is better, so much better. Even though the tree is crooked and the lights don't all work and we're out of tinsel because Emma used it all in one spot, especially because of that. Christmas morning arrived with Emma bouncing on their bed at 6 a.m. Vanessa had been sleeping over more and more, until at some point it stopped being sleeping over and started being living there, screaming about Santa. They stumbled into the living room, still half asleep, to find Emma already tearing into presents. There weren't many. Money was still tight, even with Vanessa's consulting income. But Emma didn't seem to care about quantity. A book about space! She shrieked, holding up Vanessa's gift. And it has pictures, real pictures from NASA. I figured you'd want the real thing instead of just drawings, Vanessa said, sitting on the floor beside her. It's perfect. Thank you. Emma hugged her, quick and fierce, then moved on to the next present. Adrian's gift to Vanessa was small, wrapped in paper Emma had clearly helped with because there was glitter everywhere. Inside was a key. What's this? Vanessa asked. Key to the apartment. Official key, not the spare I gave you 3 months ago, because you're not a guest anymore. You're... Adrian glanced at Emma, who was pretending to focus on her new dinosaur puzzle but was clearly listening. You're home. Vanessa's eyes burned. Adrian, you don't have to use it. Don't have to officially move in if you're not ready. But I wanted you to know there's a place for you here, always. Emma looked up from her puzzle. Does this mean you're staying, for real staying, not just sleeping over staying? Vanessa looked at the key in her hand, looked at Adrian, at Emma, at this small cramped apartment that somehow held more warmth than her expensive penthouse ever had. Yeah, she said, her voice rough. For real staying, if you'll have me. Yes! Emma launched herself at Vanessa, nearly knocking her over. Does this mean I can call you Mom now? Vanessa caught her, held her close, looked at Adrian over Emma's head. He was smiling, but his eyes were wet. Yeah, Vanessa whispered. You can call me Mom. Emma pulled back, grinning so wide it looked like her face might split. Okay, but just so you know, moms have to do mom stuff. Like pack lunches and go to school things, and tell me vegetables are important even though they're gross. I can do that. And you can't leave. Even when I'm annoying, which I will be sometimes. I won't leave, I promise. Okay then. Emma nodded, satisfied. Merry Christmas, Mom. The word landed like a gift, like coming home. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. They spent the rest of the morning in their pajamas, building Emma's new Lego set and eating pancakes for lunch because nobody felt like cooking real food. It was perfect in its imperfection. That afternoon, Adrian's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered, listened, and his face went carefully blank. It's for you, he said quietly, handing the phone to Emma. It's your mom, your other mom. Emma's face lit up, then immediately fell as she looked at Vanessa. But I already have a mom now. It's okay, Vanessa said, even though her chest felt tight. You can talk to her. I'll be right here. Emma took the phone, walked to her room. They could hear her voice, excited at first, then getting quieter. The conversation lasted maybe 5 minutes. When she came back, she was crying. What happened? Adrian asked, pulling her close. She said she might come visit. In the spring. But, Emma hiccuped. But she kept asking about you, Daddy. About whether you were dating anyone. Whether we were doing okay without her. Like she wanted us to be sad. You told her about Vanessa? Adrian asked gently. Yeah, I said I had a mom now. A real one who stays. And she got quiet, and then she said she had to go. Emma looked at Vanessa. Did I mess up? Should I not have said that? Vanessa knelt down, took Emma's hands. You didn't mess up. You told the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts people, but that's not your fault. Are you mad that I called you my mom in front of her? No, sweetheart. I'm honored, scared, but honored. Why scared? Because being someone's mom is a big responsibility. I want to make sure I do it right. Emma threw her arms around Vanessa's neck. You're already doing it right. You're here. That's the most important part. Adrian joined the hug, the three of them holding each other on the living room floor while Christmas music played from the cheap speaker Emma had gotten as a present. It wasn't perfect. Emma was still crying. Vanessa was still terrified of screwing this up. Adrian was probably worried about his ex-wife complicating things. But they were together, and that was enough. The rest of the winter passed in a blur of normalcy. Vanessa officially moved into the apartment, her expensive furniture looking ridiculous in the small space, but somehow fitting anyway. She kept consulting, built her foundation, learned how to be part of a family. Some days were hard. Some days Vanessa missed the rush of corporate life, missed being important in that specific way only power could provide. Some days she and Adrian fought about stupid things, dishes in the sink, whose turn it was to do laundry, how to handle Emma's increasing stubbornness. But they worked through it, learned each other's patterns, each other's breaking points, learned that love wasn't about being perfect together. It was about choosing each other even when things got messy. Emma's mother never did come visit. She called once more in February, made vague promises, then disappeared again. Emma cried for a day, then seemed to let it go with the resilience of children who've learned that adults aren't always reliable. "I have you and Daddy," she told Vanessa. "That's enough. Your other mom, she loves you. She's just broken," Emma suggested. "Mrs. Chen says some people are too broken to be good parents, but that's okay because I have good parents now." Vanessa hugged her, thinking about her own father, about cycles of damage and healing, about how maybe the best thing you could do was break the pattern, give the next generation something better. Spring came, and with it, Emma's 7th birthday. They had a party at the apartment, nothing fancy, just Emma's friends and Mrs. Chen and a few of Vanessa's new colleagues from the foundation, the kind of party Vanessa had never had as a child, full of screaming kids and cheap pizza and a homemade cake that collapsed slightly in the middle but tasted fine. "Make a wish," Adrian told Emma as she prepared to blow out her candles. Emma closed her eyes, thought hard, then blew. All 7 candles went out. "What did you wish for?" one of her friends asked. "Can't tell, or it won't come true." But Emma looked at Vanessa and Adrian with a smile that said she'd wished for exactly what she already had. That night, after the guests left and Emma was asleep in a sugar coma, Vanessa and Adrian cleaned up the disaster of the party. "I've been thinking," Adrian said, collecting paper plates, "about what comes next." "What do you mean?" "I mean, my leave from work ends next month. I could go back, or I could look for something else, something with better hours, better culture. I have options now that I didn't before." "Because of my consulting money?" "Because we're a team now. We can make decisions together instead of me just surviving." Vanessa set down the trash bag she was holding. "What do you want to do?" "Honestly, I want to go back to school, get my MBA, maybe teach someday. But that's years away. And expensive and probably stupid." "It's not stupid." Vanessa moved closer. "If that's what you want, we'll make it work. I have savings. The foundation is stable. We can do this." "You'd support me through school while working and raising Emma?" "We'd support each other. That's how this works, right? Taking turns being strong." Adrian kissed her, soft and grateful. "I don't deserve you." "Yes, you do. You deserve someone who sees how amazing you are, who wants to help you build the life you want." "That's what you did for me," Adrian said, "when you walked away from Hale Industries. You helped me see that there's more to life than just surviving, that we can actually build something worth having. We're building it together." 1 year after Vanessa's resignation, they went back to the park. Same bench, same view, same place where everything had changed. Emma was at a friend's house for the afternoon, giving Adrian and Vanessa a rare moment alone. They sat in the spring sunshine, watching new couples walk hand in hand, new parents push their children on swings. "You know what I realized?" Vanessa said. "A year ago, I used to stand at my office window and watch this park. Watch people living their lives. And I felt so removed from it, like I was watching through glass, seeing something I could never have. And now? Now I'm here, part of it, living instead of watching." She turned to look at him. "You did that, you and Emma. You made me part of the world again. We just showed you what was already there. You did the hard part, choosing it, fighting for it. I couldn't have done it without you." "Yeah, you could have, eventually. You're stronger than you think, Vanessa Hale." She smiled. "It's Vanessa Cole now, actually. I changed it, legally, took your name." Adrian stared at her. "You? What? When?" "Last week. Figured if I'm going to be Emma's mom for real, I should have the same name. Make it official." Vanessa pulled a small box from her pocket. "Which brings me to this. Vanessa, let me talk before I lose my nerve." She opened the box, revealing a simple silver band. "I know traditionally the man does this, but I've never been traditional, and I didn't want to wait for you to figure out you should ask. So, Adrian Cole, will you marry me? Will you let me officially be part of this family we've built? Will you trust me to keep showing up, keep trying, keep being human with you?" Adrian's eyes were wet. "That's the worst proposal I've ever heard." "I know, I'm terrible at this. But yes, obviously yes.
He kissed her, laughed against her mouth. You're supposed to get me a ring too, you know. I did. Vanessa pulled out a second box. Matching set, because we're in this together. They exchanged rings right there on the bench. No ceremony, no witnesses except the strangers in the park who didn't know they were watching something important. We should probably have an actual wedding, Adrian said, looking at his ring. For Emma. She'll want the dress and the cake and the whole thing. Next spring, small ceremony, just the people who matter. Sounds perfect. They sat there, hands linked, rings catching the sunlight. Vanessa thought about how far she'd come, from the ice queen who'd cried at her office window to someone who could sit in a park and feel content. From someone who'd measured success in quarterly earnings to someone who measured it in moments like this. Do you ever regret it? Adrian asked quietly. Giving up everything you had? I didn't give up everything. I gave up one thing, the company. But I gained this. You. Emma. A life that actually feels like living. Vanessa leaned against him. So no. No regrets, just gratitude that I was brave enough or stupid enough to take the chance. Emma would say those are the same thing. Emma's a very wise 7-year-old. They picked up Emma together that evening, the three of them going out for celebratory ice cream. Emma noticed the rings immediately. You got married? She shrieked. Without me? Just engaged, Adrian corrected. The wedding comes later, and you'll be there for that, front and center. Can I be a bridesmaid? You can be whatever you want, Vanessa said. Even a dinosaur, especially a dinosaur. Emma considered this. Okay, I'll be a T-Rex bridesmaid with a fancy dress and big teeth. That night, after Emma was asleep and the apartment was quiet, Vanessa found herself standing at the window. Not the floor-to-ceiling windows of her old office, but the small window in Adrian's, in their bedroom that looked out over the street. She couldn't see the park from here, couldn't see the playground or the couples or any of the things she used to watch from a distance. But she didn't need to, because she wasn't watching anymore. She was living. Adrian came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. What are you thinking about? About that morning, when you saw me crying at my office window, when you were stupid enough to talk to me. Best stupid decision I ever made. Mine too, promoting you, letting you in, all of it. We've made a lot of stupid decisions together. The best kind, Vanessa agreed. They stood there, looking out at the city they called home, at the life they'd built from broken pieces and second chances. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't what Vanessa had planned or expected or thought she wanted, but it was real, messy and complicated and worth every sacrifice she'd made to get here. Emma called out from her room something about a nightmare. Vanessa and Adrian went together, crawling into Emma's small bed to comfort her. The three of them squeezed into a space meant for one, uncomfortable and warm and completely content. I love you both, Emma mumbled, half asleep already. My whole family. We love you too, Vanessa whispered. And lying there, wedged between Adrian and Emma in an apartment that was too small and too loud and too full of life, Vanessa finally understood what her father had never taught her. That love wasn't weakness. That needing people didn't make you less strong. That sometimes the bravest thing you could do was admit you couldn't do it alone. That an empire built on isolation would always be cold. But a life built on connection, even when it was hard, even when it was scary, that was something worth having. She'd been the Ice Queen once, untouchable and successful and utterly alone. Now she was just Vanessa, mom, fiancée, consultant, human being. And for the first time in her life, that was enough, more than enough. It was everything.